This story kicks off with a scene of a dimly lit night sky under the bright full moon. On a tree branch somewhere directly outside the courtyard of the demonic sect, a monologue suddenly stated that it was time. It continues, adding that even after his clan was destroyed by the demonic sect, the reason why the rest of his clan struggled to survive was solely for the purpose of revenge. The source of this monologue finally came to view, and it seems to be the thoughts of a young guy named Kong Wunshin, who is currently standing on this tree branch, clad in an assassin's outfit. Kong Wunshin hops over the wall of the demonic sect's courtyard, careful not to be discovered by the guards. His first victim was a guard standing watch. His hands suddenly emerged from the shadows behind the oblivious guard, and just like that, the unfortunate guard's neck was snapped horribly from behind. Kong Wunshin knew it won't take long before the rest notice the sentry's disappearance. But before that happens, he would be done. The bloodshed continues as the scene pans to an old man, who had apparently heard all the commotion outside but still remained unbothered, deeming it as unnecessary noise. He opened his dark red eyes with an expression of superiority. Kong Wunshin stood directly in front of him, and beside him was one of the many subordinates of the old guy who had been forced to take a permanent nap. Kong Wunshin questioned how the old guy was peacefully meditating while his subordinates are being slaughtered. He truly is a heartless bastard. The old guy replied that he could say the same thing about Kong Wunshin, running amok without knowing anything. He too was as heartless as him. Did Kong Wunshin think a person such as himself would care about the lives of the insects beneath his feet as he climbs a mountain? Of course not, he would only be staring at the peak. That has always been how one reaches the pinnacle of martial arts. Kong Wunshin disagrees. He believes that's pure nonsense, and he will kill him, the heavenly demon, with his bare hands today. Kong Wunshin dashed forward and launched in the air as a blue aura enveloped his hand. This was his martial energy, and as he got close to the old bastard, he activated his heavenly lightning fist technique. However, the moment his lightning fist neared the heavenly demon's face, he laughs, mocking Kong Wunshin if that's all he's got. He raised his hand and tells Kong Wunshin to watch and learn. Activating the heavenly blood-tied art, an actual energy beam shot out from his palm and collided with Kong Wunshin's fist. Obviously, the heavenly demon's martial energy was superior as it easily shot straight past Kong Wunshin's lightning fist, narrowly injuring his face. Kong Wunshin recognizes the martial energy beam as a sword chi. The heavenly demon coldly stated his desire to send Kong Wunshin to meet his father when he's done with him. But Kong Wunshin has other thoughts as he begins to use another technique, the Cloud Dragon Divine Fist. The heavenly demon's eyes widen in surprise, and as Kong Wunshin launched forward yet again, his fist suddenly transcend to the heavenly divine palm. This technique ultimately broke through the martial energy beam of the heavenly demon, surprising the old bastard yet again. He couldn't fathom how his steel tempering, which made his fist harder than steel, to lose to Kong Wunshin's bare hands. With the old bastard's defenses broken through, Kong Wunshin followed the attack with a lightning fist, hitting the heavenly demon squarely in the chest, trashing him across the room and crashing into a wall, denting it greatly. Panting heavily, Kong Wunshin warns the heavenly demon to never utter his father's name with that dirty mouth of his. And surely, he hadn't forgotten all the evil deeds he's committed. Had he? That punch was the rage of all those people he'd wronged. In that moment, the heavenly demon regrets not wiping out the roots of the Cloud Dragon sect back then. He doesn't know what kind of enlightenment Kong Wunshin had received, but he's honestly surprised. He can't believe he broke through his heavenly demon blood surge art and left him with no other choice. He pulls out some kind of gourd, and as Kong Wunshin, shocked, asked the heavenly demon if that gourd was an elixir, the old guy began chugging it up like crazy. Seeing this, Kong Wunshin couldn't believe the old bastard drank an elixir of that amount in one go. This means the heavenly demon would definitely undergo a demonic key deviation. The gourd shatters as it hits the floor, releasing a purple energy. And as for the heavenly demon, he was overwhelmed with a sudden surge of power, radiating off him in waves. His chi was overflowing like a tidal wave, making his face look strained. As his eyes bulge out, he lets out a very powerful roar, sending out a powerful shockwave. Kong Wunshin placed a hand in front of his face as the sudden gush of wind tried to push him back. He couldn't believe what he's witnessing, but the next moment, the heavenly demon disappeared from his sight and reappeared behind him, questioning what the hell he was looking at. As he turns, he realized it was too late. The old bastard had launched a fierce attack and he had no time to dodge or counter. Unexpectedly, as the strike neared his face, a sudden barrier was cast, encasing him in a protected shield, which ultimately blocked the heavenly demon's attack. Kong Wunshin, bewildered, recognized who and where the sudden barrier came from as a mysterious guy confidently entered the room. He got caught up lazing around and apologized for being late. Kong Wunshin calls him the Great Mage, and the mysterious guy tells him not to call him by that lame-ass nickname. Unsurprised, he asked if the old bastard was the nemesis he'd been talking about. For context, Kong Wunshin explains that the supposed Great Mage claimed to have come from another world. And obviously, if it weren't for him, he would have died helplessly just a moment ago. But just then, in a somewhat expected yet shocking turn of events, someone screams bloody murder, and then we're introduced to the real world. Apparently, all the shit earlier was a script from a Muram novel, and the guy reading it was frustrated with the story's sudden development. Initially, the guy thought it was a regular Muram novel like the countless others he'd read. But now, there is a random high-level mage. Seriously, why the hell did a random high-level mage from a different world appear out of nowhere? He sighed, regretting what he'd just read, because he was really having fun reading the novel until this unexpected shitty twist happened. What a freaking mood killer. Seriously, was the author out of his freaking mind? Another world coming out of nowhere? How does that make any lick of sense? Anyway, with this sudden outrage, our time in the Muram world was cut short, and we're finally introduced to the protagonist of this story, Jin Seowon. He was 23 years old and had been discharged 6 months ago. A typical loser as usual. His phone buzzed with a notification, and as he picks it up, it turns out to be a message from a friend of his. Well, a game buddy to be exact if he's being honest, asking if he was up. If he was, then it was time to play. Reading the message, Seowon even wondered if this friend of his had no one else to play with. Anyhow, Seowon was preparing to go back to college. And like many people who have completed their service before being discharged, he had a good life plan. He wanted to earn certifications while preparing to return to college and study all the things he couldn't study while he was in the military, but he missed too many fun things in society. He left his room and head out. He debates on finding a part-time job since he only has a bit of money left. As a Muram novel fanatic, he spent a lot of time lost in fantasies of being the protagonist of a Muram world. He heads into a network cafe, and based on his interaction with the cashier, Seowon was a regular. Curious, the cashier asked if Seowon was going to play Loyal Ground again. Seowon replied he was, and the cashier should give him 10 hours for the time being. You see, Seowon always sunk hours into Loyal Ground, and even though it was the only game he'd played since his leave after being discharged, he also started grinding seriously, and even became a top 10 ranker in 3 months. He logs in and tells his friend to wait for him in the lobby. In addition, Seowon had made some spare cash from the tournaments they occasionally hold in internet cafes too. The game, Loyal Ground, was a pretty simple survival game. For context, 100 players drop from a plane, collect the weapons scattered around a map, and kill each other until one person was left. It's basically a battle royale type shit. The moment they landed after the drop, Seowon gave his friend some coordinates, notifying him of 2 guys, 250 meters from his 120. With this intel, they quickly made work of the 2 guys, killing each with a headshot that even sends a ballistic helmet flying. A while later, the kill count showed that besides Seowon, there were only 2 other players left. Cursing, Seowon tells his friend he was being so loud. He had already died once because of this, so why was he still yapping so much? They should just farm for now and stay alive. They also need to find the safe zone first before proceeding forward. His friend agrees, stating that he only believes in him. Seowon again reminded the fool to pipe the fuck down. With the battle map getting smaller, the other 2 players rushed inside a ruined building. The 2 split up, and as the first guy slowly pushed a door open and entered a room, he saw a loot, a first aid kit to be precise, by the window. Seeing how the loot was still intact, the guy deduced that their enemy might not have entered this room. But of course, this was just a trap, and anybody who's played this type of shit knows full well that suspicious loot mostly scream bait. The moment the guy got distracted by the free loot, Seowon's character, hidden in the shadows, straight up unalived the idiot. His partner at the other end heard a gunshot, and was immediately notified that his teammate was dead. He realized that their enemy was hiding inside all along. He decided to get the fuck out of there. But unfortunately for him, it was too late because the moment he bolted for the exit, he was suddenly shot in the back of the head. Being the last man standing, Seowon was congratulated for winning the game, and his friend thanked him for carrying him. Seowon stretched his sore muscles and tells his friend to just queue up already. He knew he should lock in and start studying tomorrow, but he kept procrastinating. In that moment, his phone buzzed with a message notification from his mother. She hopes her son was studying well. She'd also sent his academy fees and some extra money. Seowon's mother wants her son to eat well and apologized for not sending much. Seowon thanked his mother and stated that he was going to bed soon. Whether it was guilt or finally getting his priorities straight, Seowon tells his friend he was not going to play anymore starting the next day. Stunned, his friend asked why. After all, Siwon promised him they would go to a clan war together. Siwon explained that he couldn't and would start going to an English academy tomorrow. Apparently, it was guilt. Siwon feels guilty every time he saw these sort of texts from his mother. He's been living like this for months now, and it needs to end. As he heads back inside his apartment, he started scrolling mindlessly on his phone the moment he got into bed. He encountered an article about people with mysterious powers who had been spotted abroad. These people were calling themselves players. But just as he clicked on the article to read some more, the page suddenly got erased like it didn't exist a moment ago. Siwon was surprised by this but didn't think much about it. He stops scrolling and decides to go to sleep. The next day, early in the morning, Siwon got ready and heads out to the academy. On his way along some alley, his friend messaged him once more, asking for help in preparing for the clan war. Siwon read the message and was contemplating of helping his friend in one last game when suddenly, a purple light began emanating behind him. The moment he turned, he was completely taken aback, wondering what was going on. As the purple light shone brightly towards him, enveloping him completely, Siwon suddenly disappeared, leaving his backpack on the floor. The mysterious purple light also disappeared after that. In his unconscious state, Siwon starts wondering what that light was. Just because he was resolved to study, his day got weird. He also wondered if he was being punished for deciding too late. As he slowly opens his eyes, he hears people speaking in a language he didn't understand, and on top of that, they were too loud. But the moment he sat up, what he saw freaked the hell out of him. He felt weirded out. People in strange costumes were fighting, performing some magic tricks, and were chatting around him. Seriously, where in the bloody hell was he? And why the fuck was there so many freaking cosplayers? But what sends Siwon nearly over the edge of insanity was seeing two guys casting spells like it was just another Tuesday. His brain literally freezes for a moment as if it had performed a force restart. This definitely wasn't a magic trick. He got up, looked around, and tried to convince himself that he was dreaming. But the moment he spots a giant statue, he began questioning himself. Was he truly dreaming? Anyway, the moment the system detected the number of players to be exactly 100, the giant statue, which had been nothing but that, a statue, suddenly had its eyes glowing with a blue light. Siwon heard the initialization system in his head and was, again, freaked out. So, the moment the initialization was done and the language synchronization was 100% complete, the different languages everyone was speaking suddenly turned into Korean in Siwon's ears. A fat guy in front of him immediately got excited the moment everybody suddenly started speaking his language. Two guys to his left, who probably came from a Murim setting and were enemies of their respective sect, took on a fighting stance and was about to duel. Also, Siwon heard Escrow, a young blonde mage on his far left, asking Chiron, another mage, if he was the one responsible for their current situation. Chiron also wanted to ask Escrow the same question the moment he saw him. Hearing this, Escrow finds Chiron to be shameless and decided not to be fooled by his words anymore. Chiron, who was clearly the opposite of Escrow in terms of looks, replied that it wasn't important whether Escrow believed him or not, since everyone was fated to kneel in front of the Demon King's power. As an archmage, Escrow promised to kill Chiron right then and there, and end the Demon King soon after. He starts summoning lightning in his hand, and uses an ability named the Escrow-style lightning to unalive Chiron from where he stood. Unexpectedly, under Escrow's surprised and confused gaze, Chiron was completely unscathed. Even Chiron was puzzled. He took the magic attack head-on, but why didn't he feel anything? With this unexpected development, Escrow was definitely sure Chiron was the one who dragged him to this mysterious place. He demanded that Chiron should tell him the truth. Hearing this, Chiron was feeling smug, and although he didn't know shit about what was going on, it wasn't like he was going to tell his nemesis the truth. Siwon watched the entire exchange and realized that everything was too realistic to be a freaking dream. In that moment, the system also started the beginning of the game. The difficulty was set to easy, and the players only need to get to the top 90. The decided map was the King Kingdom's capital, and the rewards will be awarded to the top 10 players and higher. The system unilaterally skipped the tutorial and explained that attacks between players were neutralized in the waiting room. The King Kingdom's capital map appeared in front of Siwon. Also, for those accessing the Cloyd survival for the first time, it gave them a brief explanation. The Cloyd survival game will progress for 100 years, and each day, a map they play in will get slightly more limited. If they exit the limited map, they may be subjected to great harm, so they needed to be careful. The game will continue until there is only one survivor left. And if the game finishes or they get eliminated, they will return to their original world. Players who do not make it into the top 90 will not be able to partake in Cloyd survival again. Soon, They will descend to the location they desire with the help of Ergasa's gaze, and they can obtain items at that place and use them to enter the top 90. Then, the system wishes them luck. Surprised and amazed at the same time, Siwon wondered again if he was really dreaming about loyal ground right now. The system again reminded everyone that the rewards will be awarded to only the top 10 and higher. Siwon felt anxious as he took a good look around his soon-to-be competitors. Even if this was a dream, amidst all these absurd humans, he understood that he was weak and will definitely die. But Siwon didn't want to die, even if it was just a dream, even if this was really like loyal grounds. Lost in thoughts, someone suddenly called out to Siwon, asking why he keeps looking around. What was he searching for? And where the hell was he from? Siwon remained silent, and this pissed the guy off. He pointed his giant sword in Siwon's face, questioning why he was ignoring him. Again, where the hell was he from? Siwon gave a mischievous smile the moment the game started its countdown. The guy clenched his teeth tightly when he saw the smug look on Siwon's face. He asked if Siwon was insane. Was he laughing at him? As the countdown hits 1, Siwon gives the guy the middle finger. And as to why he was grinning like the Pied Piper, the reason was simple. He was dreaming such a fun dream, so why wouldn't he enjoy it? Also, with his knowledge from the loyal grounds, he can easily defeat bastards like this fucker and survive. So with that, Cloyd survival officially began, and on the first day all 100 contenders of various species were dropped from the sky. They descended from the sky towards any destination of their choosing. Siwon saw several contenders descending in crowded areas where there were many items. As per the game, those crowded areas really do have more items, but Siwon thinks it'll be better to start on the outskirts, just to be safe. He spots a nice-looking house and decided to start there. The moment he yells descend, he shot straight down like a freaking meteor, screaming like a panicked banshee, and even did a superhero landing like he owns the freaking spot he landed on. But the moment he got on his feet, motion sickness hit him like a freaking train. Siwon covers his mouth to hold back his vomit. For now, he just need to enter the house. As Siwon cautiously approached the house, he suddenly heard rustling in the bushes behind him. A sense of dread enveloped him as he immediately bolted for the door. Because of the motion sickness, he forgot and couldn't even see who else landed with him. Heading straight inside, Siwon knew if he comes across an enemy without having a weapon on him, he was certainly done for. Inside, he closed the door behind him, sat down, grabbed onto his chest, and started panting like he's been starved of air. He even wondered if the supposed person following him was the sword-wielding bastard from earlier. Maybe he shouldn't have provoked him. Nonetheless, he saw no one when he took a glance out the window. Was it just the sound of the wind? Luckily, he didn't hear anything else, so it was time to search through the house. Siwon clearly remembered the system stating they could get items from where they land, so he needed to look for some of these items in the house. As Siwon proceeds forward, his search proved fruitful. He noticed something that immediately drew his attention. Staring at the item he just kicked by accident, he picked it up. A heavy crossbow. And like the name implies, Siwon found the crossbow to be extremely heavy. Nonetheless, it was still better than nothing. As soon as he equipped it, the way to use it naturally flowed into his head. With his previous experience from the military as a South Korean's army sergeant, this was nothing. He can do this. But the moment he squeezed the trigger, the crossbow bolt shot out with a powerful force that trashed him backward. Siwon was shocked at how effective it was. The crossbow bolt had pierced through the wall without difficulty. This will be pretty useful if he learns to use it properly. He thoroughly searched the house, but couldn't find anything useful besides the crossbow. He left the house, and since the map was so supermassive, it was a good thing because if he doesn't run into an enemy from the start, he can safely farm all over the place. Siwon made his way into the next house to farm for more loot. The moment he entered the new house, crossbow ready and aimed in hand, he encountered a glowing scroll on the table. Curious as what it was, he walked over and picked it up. The moment he did, the system notified him that he'd obtained a healing scroll, but its healing capacity was small. As to how to use it, the moment he rips the scroll, his injuries will be healed. Reading this, Siwon was bewildered that such an item actually exists. Wishing he found an item bag, he also hopes he can find more recovery items too. But just then, a purple glowing book on the shelf nearby made him turn his gaze in that direction. And the second he walked over and picked it up, he was notified that he'd obtained a Black Star Leader's martial arts book. It was a martial art that lets a person project dark energy through his fingers. He was then asked whether he would like to learn it. Although Siwon was surprised he could learn the Black Star Leader's martial arts book, he also wondered if it will start a tutorial or something. Nonetheless, he chose accept. The purple light glowed brightly as the pages of the book began to turn directly in front of him. The book then slowly starts to disintegrate, confusing the hell out of Siwon. As he looks down at his hands, wondering if that was it, his palm suddenly started glowing dimly with the purple color. Siwon could feel the energy gradually swelling up within him, specifically within his hands, with every passing second. To test his newly found power, he grabs a fork on a table beside him and imbued it with dark energy before hurling it across the room into the nearby wall with so much power that the wall was dented. The fork was embedded in the wall, and this excited Siwon greatly, glad to have easily learned such a powerful skill. Satisfied, he walks over and pulls the fork out from the wall. This was amazing. The fact that there are martial arts books must mean that there are also magic books too. Regardless, Siwon was sure that Cloyd Survival and Loyal Ground were the same game. Siwon had looked all over the place, and he decided to move elsewhere to continue his search for items. Farming until it was nightfall, Siwon needed to quickly find a place to hide and rest. His eyes shot up when he spots a room with its lights on. The strange thing was that that room was the only one with its lights on, and the fact that the light was still on meant one of two things. Either there was a rare item hidden inside or somebody was inside the room. Steeling himself, he slowly entered the house, trying not to make a sound. He didn't know how many people landed near him, but in case there was someone in the house, the person could either be a complete pro or a complete noob. He didn't hear anything on the first floor. Siwon wondered if the person was hiding on the second floor. He has a weapon, and if he ambushes the person with the Black Star technique, even if the person happens to be a pro, he might stand a chance. As he slowly walks up the stairs, he made sure not to make a sound. Siwon aims his crossbow with an expressionless face, ready to eliminate anyone without a second thought. But the moment he reached the second floor and spots just the lantern in front of him, he wondered if it was a trap. There's a room right beside it, so Siwon decided to check inside. He kicks the door wide open, revealing an empty bedroom. Siwon looks around, and upon realizing that no one was in the room or the entire house, he dropped on his knees, a bit annoyed for putting on such a show for nothing. He was relieved too. After all, this meant there was no threat to his life. Siwon spots a ring inside a drawer by the bedside and picks it up, wondering if it's an item too. The item was called the Ring of Strength, which increases the user's strength by 20 when equipped. Siwon was skeptical when he read this, but the moment he puts the ring on his index finger, he immediately felt a weird sensation that freaked him out. Unexpectedly, his entire body felt lighter, and he could barely feel the weight of the crossbow now. But then it hit him, if his strength had increased by 20 times, then there was a possibility of knowing his status window. Trying different key phrases in opening his status window, it finally opened when he simply requested his info, which, to be honest, looked pretty pathetic. He was classified as a martial artist because he learned the Black Star leader's martial art. Siwon was delighted when he compared himself to the moment he started with nothing. This progress was pretty cool, but he needed to go back to the first floor and search thoroughly for any item. With luck on his side, he found a subspace ring, which conveniently allows the user to store items in a subspace when equipped. Siwon puts on the ring on his left middle finger, excited that he keeps on getting rings. The status window explains how to use his subspace ring, which was to grab an item he wants and just say or think of the word subspace. If he takes his other hand and touches the ring while thinking of the item he wants, he can take that specific item from the subspace. However, once the subspace was full, he cannot store any other item. Of course, Siwon was aware of this process and even compared the similarities to an inventory from a game. He was even sure this subspace thing was what was used instead of a bag in Cloyd Survival. He opened the subspace, and although the entire experience felt strange, Siwon spared no time putting the healing scroll inside. Now, conveniently enough, he didn't have to carry items around in a bag. But this subspace ring would be more convenient to have in real life. The items and the martial arts would be so useful if he could actually take them back to reality. Siwon was curious as to how many people have been eliminated at this point. Looking at the system interface, he was sure there was a kill log. Luckily enough, he found it seconds after without difficulty, only to see that a single person had been eliminated. Siwon wanted to farm until there were only 90 people left, but he was able to search houses and lucky enough to obtain a lot of hidden weapons to use alongside his Black Star martial arts. However, he thinks he's gone through all of the houses and should probably get a move on. Or maybe stay inside until it gets bright outside. The strong people he saw in the waiting room were probably striding around in the dark night. And with his level, he definitely cannot beat them right now. But if he can hide and get into the top 10, he'll be able to allocate points into good areas like he did on his first day. There will definitely be less people at night, so he should probably go check another place before the sun comes up. He had been moving constantly the moment the game started, but he hadn't been tired at all. The Ring of Strength was truly awesome. But even though his strength has increased, he could still feel hunger and thirst. Perhaps Cloyd's survival was similar to reality. Siwon was hungry and needed to find something to eat. He had been in the outskirts since the start of the game and hadn't seen anything to eat. But he was sure there will be food in the city. According to the map, the houses he was searching for should be somewhere around where he was. But there was nothing. That's when he heard a wolf snarling not far away. Siwon froze on the spot as the wolf moved a few distance behind him. He immediately dived into the bush nearby and hid behind a tree, scared shitless. Initially, he didn't hear anything until the wolf nearly spotted him. Siwon cautiously took a peek from his hiding spot, realizing it was an actual werewolf. Unbeknownst to him, another werewolf suddenly appeared beside his crouching figure. Fuck! Siwon instantly moved out of the way the moment the werewolf attacked, shattering the poor tree upon impact. The two werewolves stared at Siwon with evident killing intent. Sweating bullets, Siwon kept running like a headless chicken. He thought the game was a player versus player battle royale type shit. But never in a million years did he imagine there would be actual monsters in the mix. If he knew something like this was roaming around, he would have just stayed put. He was still a ranker in name, so his current situation would be so embarrassing if he died to a mob. In that moment, Siwon was lucky to spot a house a few distance away. This gave him the needed boost to bolt inside with the little energy he had left. Inside, he closed the door, sat down while he kept panting like his heart was being ripped out from his chest. But then he heard the two werewolves snarling outside. It seems shit was about to get real because they were heading his way. As they got closer, Siwon desperately wondered what he should do in this situation. He slightly creaks the door open and silently observed the two werewolves directly outside the house. Siwon figured out that the two werewolves had already caught on to his scent. And judging by how they keep sniffing around, they wouldn't leave and would keep searching for his scent. Then it wouldn't take long till they eventually find his location. If that's the case, then he would attack them first. He readied his crossbow and aimed directly through the tiny space. And as soon as the target lined up, he fired the shot through the tiny doorway into the woods, piercing one of the werewolves directly in its skull. It fell to the ground and died shortly after, disappearing into thin air. Thanks to the Ring of Strength, Siwon can use the crossbow with just one hand. Now, he just needed to deal with the other one. After reloading, Siwon turned to search for the other werewolf, only to be surprised when it stood directly at the doorway. It smashed through the door and nicked Siwon's cheek with its claws in the process. Siwon turned in horror as the werewolf barged straight through the door like an enraged beast. Fuck, this is bad. Siwon raised his crossbow and fired decisively, but the werewolf raised its arm and blocked it. Siwon drops the crossbow as the werewolf launched towards him. In that split second, Siwon wondered if this was how he would get eliminated. But then his survival instinct kicked in. No, not yet. Resolved, Siwon opened and pulled out a freaking spoon from his subspace. Then activating his black star of martial arts, he imbued the spoon with purple energy and all the strength he could muster in that moment. He hurled it towards the beast. The werewolves inside were torn open as a massive hole was created with ease. The spoon also embedded itself in the wall behind, and Siwon's straight-up scoff at the absurdity of losing to an inferior species, a mere underling. But as it starts to disappear, his adrenaline finally wears off and relief wash over him. He thought he was a goner. Siwon falls to his knees, thanking God that he'd stashed the spoon from before. Otherwise, he would have lost, and losing to a mob would have been embarrassing. There was a pouch in front of him, and it seems to be the mob drop. When Siwon opened it, he wasn't pleased to find only water and a jerky. Seriously, he could have just hunted for food. As he starts munching on the jerky, he debates checking out his surroundings. In the house, Siwon finds a piece of armor. He wondered if the armor was the same as a bulletproof vest from Loyal Grounds. He puts it on, but he felt like the armor was huge for his size. However, the moment he thought of this, the armor instantly adjusted to his size. The status window informed him that he had equipped the advanced orichalcum breastplate, and his resistance against fire and wind magic has increased greatly. Siwon was pleased. "This is awesome," he exclaimed in excitement. The armor even raised more than just 1 or 2 stats. He bets there's even more around. As he started looking around for stuff, he bumped his knee into something, but when he looked down, he didn't see anything. So he kicked the empty space in front of him. It was a hidden item, and the moment he picks it up, the item felt like a cloth. He puts it on, and the system informed him he had been equipped with the night cloak. Once equipped, if he stays still in the darkness, he will blend in with it. While hidden, he will not be detected by magic, and the sounds he makes will be completely suppressed. Siwon was impressed with this item. This means he can avoid anybody he comes across at night. This must be the best item for staying alive. With this, Seowon can probably stay alive as long as he needs to. But he was puzzled about how there was a house in the middle of nowhere. Nonetheless, it was a farming spot. It seems his luck is better on the second day. Dead in the night, Seowon proceeded through the woods after thoroughly searching the house. So far, he hasn't seen anyone. Could it be because he dropped into a random location? Suddenly, the sound of heavy footsteps and frantic gasps reached his ears. A guy with a scar running across his face came sprinting from the distance not far from Seowon's location, cursing under his breath. The guy stated fanatically that if he'd had time to activate that damn scroll, that bastard wouldn't have stood a chance. Seowon instinctively ducked behind a tree, pulling the cloak of night tight over his body. His breath slowed as he observed the man stumble to a stop. Panting, the guy continued that he didn't expect to run into a mage. Seowon quietly pulled out his crossbow, believing that the guy didn't seem that strong. If he was right, he could take him. The guy staggered forward again as Seowon steadied his breathing, lined up his shot and tried to will his hesitation away. He urged and reminded himself that it was just a game, and not a real person. Why was he hesitating? Before he could decide, a distant voice rang out. With the word ignite, a stream of fire erupted across the field, incinerating the scarred guy mid-sprint. The flames licked the air violently before disappearing, leaving behind nothing but scorched earth and a wooden loot chest. Seowon's heart skipped a beat. The guy was dead just like that. Then realization struck. The game didn't leave corpses. It left loot crates. Obviously, since this was a game, it meant the dead guy dropped the chest. His gear should still be there. But where did that fire come from? A figure walked into view, a smug smirk on his face. He sneered, stated that the dead bastard tried to loot his kill without even knowing how to use magic. Pathetic. Seowon froze, barely breathing. The Archmage continued that if the idiot had just died to his sword, he wouldn't have had to suffer like that. Seowon was a bit astonished as the Archmage walked right past him. He thought of the cloak he was wearing. This thing is truly awesome. The Archmage, still oblivious and obviously full of himself, stepped toward the chest and stated that the guy should feel honored to die by the hands of Chiron. He began sifting through the loot, wanting to know what the unlucky bastard dropped. Seowon's eyes narrowed as he clenched his jaw. That guy, the one he killed. He was a player just like him, which meant he could be the next person to be hunted by this Chiron. The moment he hesitated, someone else could kill him and climb the rankings. Then a thought struck him. If he wants to survive, he must be willing to do whatever it takes. Chiron, who had been gloating over the loot, comments that the guy actually had some nice stuff. Suddenly, something shot toward him. He sensed danger just in time and was shielded by his magic barrier. Now serious, Chiron scanned his surroundings, realizing he got too loud and attracted a third party. However, this idiot shifted all the blame to the poor bastard he killed earlier. Another arrow flew and slammed into his shield, causing it to flicker violently. Chiron panicked. At this rate, his barrier was going to shatter. He called Seowon a coward, trying to antagonize him to reveal himself and fight him fairly. Yet another arrow pierced the air, this one hitting from his flank. Chiron turned just in time to see his shield disintegrate into shards of energy. Cursing, he questioned where the hell was Seowon. Seowon remained hidden, drawing another arrow silently. Chiron, desperate, launched a wild burst of fire magic toward the trees. But it was too late. An arrow embedded itself deep into his forehead. The flames fizzled in his throat as his body collapsed backward. The last sound he made was a gurgle of disbelief. Seowon was relieved to have won. Karen's body dissolved into a loot chest. Seowon jogged over. If anyone saw that fire spell and comes to investigate, he will be screwed. So he better farm as fast as possible and bounce. The moment he popped the chest open, a system message appeared. Seowon received healing gauntlets, shared healing scroll, escrow's pendant, which was a solid gold necklace that identifies the wearer as a mage of the escrow guild. Seowon picked up the pendant and examined it. Realizing it had no actual attributes, he deemed it to be trash. Nonetheless, he needed to stash it for now. Then something else caught his eye in the other loot chest. The circle stone. It allows the user to inscribe a ring around their heart, enabling the use of magic. Once used, a person can learn magic from that ring. Seowon was baffled. He could become a mage just like that. He recalled what the previous player had yelled right before he died. If only he had time to use the item. An apprentice bastard like Chiron wouldn't have stood a chance. Now everything made sense, and that's why that poor guy was so frustrated. Seowon held the stone in his hand, smirking. He promised to put the item to good use in the guy's stead. He shoved the rest of the items into his subspace. He planned to stash everything into his inventory and check it all later in a safer spot. He slipped away, eyes scanning the horizon. He needed to find a place to activate this circle stone. Eventually, he arrived at a small town which looked safe enough. He entered one of the many rooms, sat down and pulled the stone out. A prompt appeared, asking if he wished to use the circle stone. Siwon confirmed that he does. Then another notification followed, warning him that using the circle stone will render him immobile for 3 hours. He will be unable to take any action during that time, and may also experience mild pain during the engraving process. Suddenly, an intense wave of pain surged through him. He had to suppress the urge to scream and endure absolute agony for the next 3 hours. Siwon lay sprawled out on the floor, wincing. Mild pain his ass. He thought he was going to die. He groaned as he sat up. From what he'd endured, learning martial arts was a breeze compared to magic. He calls for his status window, and as it pops up, his eyes widened. His attributes had improved significantly, and it looks like he can actually have a dual class and a mana stats. Siwon decided to check the player count. He figured that, since he killed 2 people recently, the total number of survivors must have gone down. Curious, he checks the current player count and was shocked. The number had dropped drastically, only 45 out of 100 remain. He stares at the screen, wondering how it was even possible. One name dominates the kill feed, Nam Sagwang. Apparently, this person is wiping out nearly everyone. We're then taken to a flashback from a few hours earlier. A man stands perched on a treetop, gazing down at others like a predator. He licks his lips as he locks onto his next target. Despite his intimidating size, the man below stumbles over a rock and falls. An oddly comical moment given the tension. The target turns and pleaded desperately. He only wants to make it into the top 90. Without a word, Sagwang raised his hand, reached out calmly as the man continued to beg for mercy. Then, with a horrifying motion, he crushes the man's head like it was nothing. As the lifeless body drops, Sagwang doesn't even bother with the loot. He simply wanted to use this kill to send a message, and for everyone to remember his name, Nam Sagwang. Back in the present, Cloyd survival was in day 3. Siwon receives a system notification and stares at the number of players that had died in a single night. One thought lingers in his mind. He seriously hopes he never run into Sagwang. He then reflects that if things continue at this pace, he might actually have a shot at making it into the top 10. Before the game started, they'd announced a special reward for reaching that rank. And now he's starting to wonder what it could be. His first guess was money or rare items. But what if it's something even crazier? What if the reward is the ability to bring the skills and items from this world back into the real one? He sighs, reminding himself that there's a lunatic killer on the loose outside, and here he is daydreaming. He needs to stay focused, wrap things up and get moving soon. Still, he can't ignore the energy he feels pulsing inside him now. It's like something new has awakened. Is this what mana feels like? He wonders. He recalls that during his looting spree, he also picked up a spell book, the Magic Book of Windball. It allows the user to create wind-based spheres, and the number he can summon scales with his magical power. Excited, he accepts the prompt to learn the spell. The book instantly vanished. Confused at first, he wondered if that was it. But then he realized that the knowledge of the spell was being directly implanted into his mind. He raises his hand and begins chanting in the style of escrow magic, channeling mana into his palm. As he focuses, 4 tiny wind balls materialize around him. At first glance, he's unimpressed. They don't look all that powerful. He gestures to flick them away, and the moment they drift back and hit the wall, they explode in a massive blast behind him. Siwon's eyes widen. He exclaims that the spell is way stronger than it looks. This is definitely going to be useful. But then fatigue hits him hard. Suddenly he feels drained. Apparently, that's the cost of using magic, he mutters. As time passed, a restricted zone began to appear on Siwon's map, and the grid started to shrink. He decided to keep farming while staying close to the edges of the safe zone. With half the players already eliminated, the odds of running into someone should be much lower, but he still needs to move fast and gather resources before the boundary closes in further. Unbeknownst to him, an old man is perched silently on top of a tree nearby, watching his every move. He hasn't moved an inch yet, just observing Siwon as he walks down the path. The man murmurs, "This is getting interesting," before finally leaping forward. Time skips ahead, half a day later. Siwon recalls seeing houses in this area on the map, but when he arrives, he's met with a disturbing sight. The entire place is littered with loot boxes and bloodstains. Suddenly, he hears footsteps behind him. Instinctively, he panics and casts Wind Ball, launching it in the direction of the noise. The spell hits a door, blowing it apart in a burst of wind and debris. Breathing heavily, he wonders if it was just the wind. He really thought he sensed someone nearby. As he peers through the blasted doorway, he's startled by what he sees. More blood scattered everywhere. He guesses someone must be injured inside. Given that they've survived this long, they're likely carrying valuable gear, and in their current weakened state, he might even be able to take them down. There's probably a ton of rare loot in there, but after a moment's hesitation, he chooses to prioritize survival. It's not worth the risk. He turns and walks away. Once he's gone, the scene lingers on the other side of the door. Something or someone is still in there. The man inside the house peeks out cautiously and sighs in relief. Did he leave? He wondered, thanking God. He thought of how, if he hadn't hidden quickly, he would have been dead. Still, he grumbles that if he weren't injured, he could have easily taken the guy out. Now he just needs to loot what's left and get out of there. But just as he moves slightly, an arrow strikes him in the side of the head. He realizes he got baited. As his body begins to dissolve into nothing, watching from a distance, Siwon quietly thanking the dead guy for falling for the trap. He wastes no time, moving in to loot quickly before heading to the edge of the restricted zone. Just then a voice speaks up. It's the old man from earlier, the one who had been silently observing him. You seem quite skilled, the man says. Siwon tenses, realizing he dropped his guard. But the old man calmly adds, there's no need to be alarmed. I just want to ask a few questions. His tone is thoughtful, almost casual, like someone who's been through this countless times. Still wary, Siwon asks who he was. The old man replied that it wouldn't matter if he told Siwon. They've all lived different lives, so Siwon likely wouldn't know him anyway. Siwon notes that the man feels completely different from everyone else he's encountered so far. There's something off. The old man then asks, have you participated in this kind of play before? Play? Siwon echoes, confused. The old man continues, I've been watching you for a while. You adapted quickly, and I'm sure you already realize this world isn't real. Siwon wonders how long the old man had been watching him, and how he managed to go completely unnoticed. He admits this is his first time being brought to a place like this, but he's played similar games back in his own world. The old man raises an eyebrow, intrigued. That's interesting, he says. Siwon replies that just by looking at him, it's obvious he's not from the same world. The old man nods, glancing up. Looks like it's gotten dark. Siwon agrees. It's already day 3. The old man then asks, is the moon in your world as big as this one? Siwon hadn't really paid attention until now but laughs and replied it is not. This moon was massive. The old man smirks. Same in mine. Then, curious, he asks Siwon to explain the game he mentioned earlier. Siwon hesitates. You sure you want to talk about this here? We could get ambushed at any moment. The old man concedes the point, saying the conversation might take a while anyway. Let's go somewhere safer. Siwon eyes him warily. And how do I know you won't kill me the moment we're alone? In response, the old man grabs him and says quietly, you know how this works. But if you don't want to become someone's target, stay silent. And with that, he launches into the trees, effortlessly carrying Siwon with him, leaping from branch to branch. They move so fast that the wind whips Siwon's cheeks, flapping like a parachute caught in a storm. Siwon narrates in hindsight, at the time, he had no idea what kind of consequences this encounter would bring. Later that night, in a more secluded spot after some back and forth, the old man comments, your world seems magical. Siwon shrugs. I'm not sure how to describe it. It's a place with a highly advanced civilization. That explains why you've adjusted to this place so quickly, the old man says thoughtfully. Siwon, still puzzled, finally asks the question that's been bothering him. How long have you been watching me? The old man replies without hesitation. Since the very beginning, since the moment we were dropped into this world. Siwon starts to wonder if the old man can read his mind. The old man responds calmly, saying that he had originally planned to spend the next 100 days enjoying the fresh mountain air, but he found Siwon's actions too interesting to ignore. That curiosity is the only reason he approached him. He's not here to cause harm, so there's no need for Siwon to be on edge. Siwon admits he doesn't know much himself. The old man says there's something similar in his own world, and Siwon explains that what they're experiencing here is essentially just a form of playback where he comes from, meant for fun where no one actually dies. That's why, when it comes to understanding the motives of whatever supernatural force brought them here, he's completely in the dark. The old man nods, processing it, and Siwon adds that he's certain this game is a huge opportunity for someone. Intrigued, the old man asks what he means by that. Siwon continues, explaining that he believes death in this game isn't the same as real death. When someone dies, they'll be given a rank and with it, a reward. He suspects the reward will be tied to the items they've collected while here. You mean the things you're wearing? The old man asks. Not just these, Siwon replies. Even the skills, the techniques, and the martial arts I've learned. Siwon didn't have any proof yet, but that's what he believes. The old man muses aloud, saying that magic really is fascinating. So you think this is truly an opportunity? Siwon responds, maybe not for someone like you, but for people struggling in the real world, people who feel stuck, these powers could completely change their lives. The old man glances at him quietly, then asks, and what makes you think my life is without struggle? Siwon tells the old man that he seems like a martial arts master, someone who probably has followers and respect back in his world. That kind of life is nothing like his own, where he doesn't really have any role or value. That's why, for people like him who are struggling, this place is a huge opportunity. The old man bursts out laughing, loud and carefree, saying Siwon sure knows how to say some interesting things. Siwon quickly tells him to keep it down. The old man then points out that Siwon keeps waving his hand in the air and asks what he's doing. Siwon realizes he must not know how to open the system map, so he explains it to him. In return, the old man shares stories from his own world. They swap knowledge, tricks, and insights until before they know it, morning arrives. The old man gently taps the ground with his foot, acknowledging the new day. Looks like I've taken up too much of your time, he says, letting go of Siwon and setting him down. But Siwon reassures him, not at all. Honestly, being around you might be the safest option I've got. He adds that he enjoyed listening to the old man's stories. The old man smiles and says that, after learning so much about this game from Siwon, he feels like he should offer something in return. Siwon, without hesitation, asks if it would be possible to learn some of his martial arts. He says he truly wants to survive until the end, and for that, he'll need help. The old man studies him for a moment, then replies, it's not impossible. Siwon's eyes light up with hope, but the old man adds a warning. You'd need to be ready for the worst. Siwon frowns. What do you mean? Death, the old man says bluntly. To grow outside the normal path, you have to pay a heavy price. Are you prepared for that? Siwon responds, I know I'm repeating myself, but people don't actually die here. The old man pauses, then nods thoughtfully. If that's true, then perhaps that method could work after all. Would it make me stronger? Siwon asks. At the very least, the old man replies, it's worth a try. Siwon asks what he should do first. The old man steps closer and places a palm on his head, closing his eyes to sense his energy. After a moment, he opens them, stunned. Your inner energy is weaker than my dog's, he says, dead serious. How the hell are you this weak? Siwon reminds him that there's no such thing as martial arts or inner energy in his world. The old man just nods and tells him to sit in the lotus position. He's still holding Siwon's head like a basketball and calmly warns, you're going to feel pain like you're dying, but you won't be able to move. Siwon, already tense, asks, and what am I supposed to do? Endure it, the old man says. If you can't, you'll die. As the old man begins transferring his chi, Siwon feels all his senses spike. Every breeze against his skin feels like razor blades. Even breathing hurts, as if the air itself is poisoned. It's like someone laced his body with pure agony. He can even hear ants crawling through the grass. Suddenly, a searing pain shoots through his lower dantian and rises upward. He screams as beams of energy burst from his mouth and eyes. Drenched in sweat, he begins to panic. Is this how I die? Then, in an instant, everything around him feels frozen. In that stillness, something begins to implant itself inside his body. Some kind of energy core passed from the old man. In reality, he's just trembling and drenched in sweat. A moment later, the old man calmly says, it's done. Siwon immediately lurches forward, fighting the urge to vomit, then gives in and throws up. The old man looks at him with approval. If you manage to endure that, your body isn't bad. You've got natural potential. Once I fix your energy flow, you'll feel the difference. Siwon, still shaky, asks, what do I have to do now? The old man reminds him, didn't you say you wanted to become strong as fast as possible? Siwon confirms that he does want to become stronger, and the old man nods. He explains that he has temporarily pushed Siwon's soul slightly out of alignment and opened an inspiratory gate in that space. Normally, people are only able to absorb the world's energy or chi through breathing. But now, with this new gate, Siwon can absorb a different, more specialized form of energy beyond just breath. Siwon asks, so what exactly has changed? The old man replies, every person is made up of the mind, body, and soul, and those three are bound together by life chi. He then asks Siwon to guess what happens to that life chi when a person dies. Siwon thinks for a moment and says, it disappears? The old man shakes his head. Wrong. To illustrate what the old man is implying, an image of a water droplet resting on a leaf came to view. As it falls, the old man continues, explaining that life chi doesn't vanish. It disperses. Just like how water spreads out when it hits the ground, life chi diffuses into the environment when a person dies. It's absorbed back into nature, becoming part of the life cycle once more. But he adds, some people view this natural process as a waste. There are those who go so far as to kill, intentionally harvesting the life chi of others. However, those who pursue that path live in a constant state of imbalance. Sooner or later, the disharmony between their yin and yang causes them to lose their martial abilities, or worse, die. The technique the old man just passed on to Siwon is different. It allows him to absorb scattered life ki like those individuals, but without disturbing his internal balance. With it, Siwon can gradually increase his inner energy, drawing power from what others leave behind. Siwon asks, half joking, if the old man just handed him a guaranteed death sentence. The old man chuckles and explains that Siwon's case is different. Unlike those who forcibly reconstructed their energy pathways to open a gate, he used Siwon's soul to create one. Since Siwon didn't have any inner energy to begin with, his body was like a blank canvas. It made him the perfect candidate. Instead of clashing with existing energy, his body could absorb life ki harmoniously. Now do you understand why I gave you a mind technique that's forbidden in Jangun? The old man asks. Siwon thinks for a moment, then says, it must be because of the game setting. The old man smiles. Exactly. I like how fast you catch on. He goes on to explain that he felt it yesterday. Whenever someone dies in this world, a trace of life chi lingers in the air. The core issue with this mind technique is that, in the real world, it thrives on killing. But here, killing is part of the rules. To survive, one has to eliminate others. By the time 100 days are up, Siwon will have reached an entirely new level. With that, the old man says it's time for them to part ways. It'd be nice to cross paths again someday. Wait, Siwon calls out. You've helped me so much. I at least want to know your name. The old man turns with a soft smile. The name's Jangdakian. Most call me the Deep Valley Standing Kindly. And the mind technique I passed down to you, it's called White Martial Physique Arts. Siwon bowed deeply. I'll never forget this. Jangdakian advises him to get used to deep and steady breathing. As long as he keeps drawing in inner energy through his dantian, his strength will steadily grow. Then he opens the system map, just as Siwon had taught him, and comments on how useful it is. I'll see you again if fate allows it, he says before leaping into the air, soaring off with ease. Siwon nods, watching as the old man vanishes into the sky. He watches as the old man vanishes into the distance and mutters. He disappeared so fast as expected. If he could use the same Kwangong movement techniques, he'd be able to travel just as effortlessly. For now, he sticks to the plan and starts making his way back to the outskirts. He was abducted to the center in an instant, but the journey back on foot takes him half a day. Eventually, he finds himself crouched in some bushes in front of a familiar sight, a house with its lights still on. Same as last time, he mutters. Either nobody's inside, or it's some clueless newbie who doesn't know how to turn off the lights. Either way, he decides he's going in. He rushes toward the house, carefully enters and sweeps the area room by room. As he moves through the house, the upstairs light suddenly shuts off. He smirks. I knew it. Time to loot. But after searching the place thoroughly, he sighs in frustration. What a waste of time. Aside from a small healing scroll and some jerky, the house is practically empty. Just useless items, he mutters. He came all this way for nothing. Yawning, he realizes how exhausted he is. He didn't get a second of sleep last night because he talked with the elder all night. With fatigue setting in, he decides it's time to rest. Curling up somewhere safe, he falls into a deep sleep. The night was peaceful. It's now day 5, and Siwon is still fast asleep on the floor when the sound of approaching footsteps begins to echo nearby. A voice speaks up just outside the room saying, so this house isn't empty after all. The words jolt Siwon awake. He instantly senses the person is right outside the door and slowly reaches for his crossbow. How could I let myself be so careless? He thinks, bracing himself. As the door creaks open, the man steps inside, mumbling about finally being able to rest, only to stop in shock as he finds himself staring down the barrel of a crossbow. Without hesitation, Siwon pulls the trigger. The bolt launches toward the intruder, but with a quick flash of steel, the man slices it cleanly in half with his sword. Siwon curses under his breath. Great. A martial artist, this is going to be a pain. Without wasting a second, he reaches into his subspace and pulls out a set of throwing knives, channeling his Black Star technique into them. He launches them at the man, who manages to block one with his arm and scoffs, calling Siwon a coward for using hidden weapons. Siwon doesn't flinch. He closes the distance and grabs the man by the side of the head, slamming him hard onto the floor. Before the man can recover, Siwon kicks his weapon away and stands over him. I was having a nice dream, Seowon says coldly. Then you had to wake me up. He raises another crossbow bolt, ready to end the man. The man panics, begging for his life. Please, I'll do anything, take whatever you want. Just don't kill me. I fought so hard just to survive. But Seowon doesn't hesitate. He drives the bolt straight into the man's forehead. A kill notification flashes. Orong has been eliminated by a headshot. Seowon exhales and mutters, I fought too hard to die here too. Then after Orong's death, we see that a chest was left behind to be looted. However, there's a green aura surrounding the chest. This must be what Elder Jang Dokyeon was talking about. Then the green energy begins to flow through Seowon's bloodied hands. Life chi. So this is how he's going to grow stronger. The energy starts coursing through his entire body as if being absorbed. His body is overflowing with strength. Is this what they call inner energy? Even though he absorbed the life energy of only one person, his body feels light and he feels much stronger. So he decides to open the status system to check. He was a martial artist with inner energy of 20 and mana of 30. And now he has a separate stat for that. Is it at 20 because he received that man's inner energy? The Elder gave Seowon an impressive power that he won't let go to waste. He knows he shouldn't rely solely on killing to accumulate life chi, but should also find other ways. He wonders how many people are still alive, so he decides to open the system window for the number of players. However, he's shocked. What the hell? The number of players was now 24 out of 100. It's only the 5th day and there were only 24 people. Seowon then decides to check the kill log. And in that very moment, someone just died, so the number had dropped to 23. Nam Sagwon killed the player named Cal Verstappen. With lifeless eyes, Cal Verstappen's final words was Nam Sagwon's name. He had a massive hole in his chest like he had taken a punch that went straight through. Another chest was left to be looted, but Sagwon didn't even bother. He thought the guy was strong just because he approached him on his own. Now his hand is all dirty for no good reason. Hasn't he already killed enough of them? When is this going to end? Sagwon decides to open the system window to check the remaining number of players. There are still 22 players alive. How annoying. He then notices something strange, the log right above his own. Jin Seoyun? He thinks he's seen that bastard's name before. Back to Seowon, he saw that Sagwon had definitely taken the spot for being the one who has killed the most. Technically speaking, he was the MVP. He needs to avoid that player at all costs. He barely managed to defeat a weak opponent. Seowon still has a long way to go to reach Nam Sagwon's level. He needs to finish farming before the restricted zone gets smaller. From Orang's chest, the only good thing he got was a refined troll's potion. The rest were useless items. Then again, if Orang had an elixir or something truly valuable, he probably wouldn't have died so easily. After that, Seowon decided to hide and survive until the number of players dropped further. A week later, Seowon encountered another werewolf, and apparently that was his meal. Seowon realizes how lucky he was at the start of the game. He didn't manage to loot much because he spent most of the time hiding, and the equipment he got was all trash. He kills the werewolf with an arrow, and after it dies, it turns into a chunk of meat, jerky to be precise, and Seowon was sick of it. Anyway, Seowon had always stayed in the forest near the borders of the restricted zone, so he had never run into any player. On the 12th day in Cloyd survival, only 20 players remain. Seowon kept staring at what seems to be a barrier. He tried passing through it but ends up hurting himself. He figures he probably won't even be able to move inside there. For an entire week, the kill log only showed Nam Sagwon killing everyone. Seems like the rest, including him, was hiding and playing it safe. In that moment, Seowon hears a thunderous noise not far from his location. He then sees a massive cloud of smoke, and it looks like there's a big fight going on over there. Panting heavily, Nam Sagwon asked who the players teaming up against him were. Apparently, a group of players had gathered with a common goal, which was to kill Sagwon. They believe he had no way of winning against them in a united front. Nam Sagwon should just die quietly. This group of mismatched players were made up of warriors, samurais, barbarians, and mages. Hearing this, Sagwon gave a devilish smile. So all of you teamed up just to take down one guy. Well, I guess I should be thankful. This saves me the trouble of hunting each of you down one after the other. If these players were ready to kill him, he was certain they're also prepared to face the same fate, right? With an intimidating look, he delivers a threat. He's gonna make sure everyone here understands what that really means. In an instant, he leaps into the sky, rising above all his enemies. Then he dives toward one of them, placing his hand on the person's head. Using sheer brute strength, he crushes the guy's head. The rest cursed, stunned to see Sagwon kill a player with one strike. How the hell did that bastard manage to pull that off? The mage screams. Now it's 2, then 3, then 4. He starts killing them one by one, severing limbs, slashing open stomachs, decapitating heads. This wasn't a battle but a one-sided massacre. The kill log made that very clear. Sagwong was like a bloodthirsty demon, insatiable and relentless. Nam Sagwong was destined to win the game, unless something completely unexpected happens. Seowon was in shock as he sees the death notifications. There were at least 9 deaths in just a matter of seconds. That bastard, he's insane. 9 kills at once? Seriously? Sagwong must definitely be using some kind of cheat. With his face covered in blood, Sagwong stated that the group was nothing. Just a bunch of weaklings who teamed up with other weaklings. Cursing, he then stated that the smell of their blood was disgusting. They should have died without putting up a fight. He doesn't understand why they even scream. Several chests were left untouched, and near them, a mage's staff was covered in blood. Sagwong decided to find a place to wash himself off. He then walks away without a backward glance at the loot. As night falls, the loot were still in the same spot, untouched. Someone approaches and decides to take the staff. This is Elizabeth's gear, Escrow stated with a pain expression. He then swears in the name of Escrow to avenge Elizabeth. Now, with only 11 people left, Seowon believes he can hold out just a little longer. He'll make it into the top 10. But after witnessing the chaos earlier, if he wants to survive against a raid boss like that, he needs to get some really good items. Seowon spotted a mansion, and was sure that by tomorrow morning, the mansion will be outside the safe zone. It's the last spot for a decent farming opportunity, so he decides to sneak into the mansion quietly. As he cautiously entered, he was surprised to see how extravagant the mansion really was. With marble statues, plenty of space, it's likely to have some incredible loot. He spots a guard royal's armor, but Seowon's strength was insufficient. With 110 of strength required, he was asked if he wishes to take the item. Seowon already knew carrying the royal's armor would only get in his way. After all, his strength was only 30. What bad luck. He figures there must be more there. Then on a bookshelf he spots 2 glowing items. An elixir that boosts inner energy with a duration of 3 hours. Did Seowon wish to take it? An elixir? If he uses this, could he really gain inner energy without absorbing life energy? This mansion was turning out to be a real treasure trove. Seowon also acquired a secret technique named the Unstoppable Fist. Seowon was amazed to have gotten a martial arts manual. But just like with the Circle Stone's ability, he'll have to sit somewhere for 3 hours to absorb it. While searching for more loot, he notices something unusual. A wine cellar? There's probably something inside. But before he can check, a massive explosion goes off. He quickly realizes the fire is heading straight toward him. He narrowly escapes by jumping out of the nearest window. What the hell was that? Where did all that fire come from? Shit, he starts running for his life. He throws himself into a bush near the house. He was sure no one had followed him here. He could not comprehend what was happening. When he raised his head up, he saw someone who he recognized from the waiting room. It was Escrow. The mage was the one using the fire magic. He told his opponent that he didn't expect him to survive his explosion. It seems like it wasn't luck that the brat was able to take out all those people. While in the air, Escrow told Sagwong that he will remember his name. Sagwong asked him to stop spouting nonsense. He told Escrow that he is nothing special once he shuts his fucking mouth. He asked him to not waste his time spewing bullshit and come at him. Escrow smiled and called Sagwong an impudent brat. He was interested in seeing how long Sagwong can keep running his mouth. Sagwong replied that he was also interested in seeing this. Seowon was surprised to see that the person who went on a killing spree was just a kid. Sagwong took on a fighting stance and readied himself as Escrow just stares at him like an insignificant worm that got stuck at the bottom of his boots. Seowon remained inside the bush and had no intention of leaving at the moment. He wanted to see how this battle was going to end. Escrow raised his staff and referred to himself as the Master of Spells. He used a spell known as Escrow-style lightning to draw lightning from the sky. He ordered the lightning to strike. The moment he said this, a huge amount of lightning got fired at Sagwong. The boy managed to dodge the attack. Escrow fired more lightning at him. He asked him about how long he plans on dodging his attacks. He asked Sagwong to face him the same way he faced Elizabeth. While dodging his attacks, Sagwong admits that Escrow is skilled. He had never seen anyone like the mage even in Zhongyuan. Some of Escrow's skills sent shivers down his spine. Escrow was annoyed to see Sagwong dodging his attacks. He called him a rat bastard. He let go of his staff and raised his hand to summon a large amount of lightning. He told Sagwong that he will end him with this attack. He fired a spell known as Lightning Storm at the boy. Lightning was fired at Sagwong from different directions. The boy was shocked to see the attack. He carefully moved to dodge the lightning. He was barely able to avoid it. He jumped and charged at Escrow. The mage was surprised to see Sagwong coming close to him. The boy gathered his energy into his palm when he got close to Escrow. The mage told him that his attack will not be enough to break his barrier. He swung his staff at Sagwong and asked him to die. Sagwong was surprised to feel the power of the staff. He disappeared in front of Escrow. The mage was shocked to see this. He realized that Sagwong used an illusion to escape. As Escrow looked around, rain began to fall. Siwon was surprised to see this. He wondered if it was raining because of Escrow's magic. This was insane to him. He could not believe that the mage almost killed Sagwong, and he could even change the weather. Since he was not able to sense his presence, Escrow deduced that Sagwong had run quite far away. He screamed at the top of his voice and promised Sagwong that he will catch and kill him. While breathing heavily, Sagwong ran through the forest. He acknowledged the fact that he was defeated by Escrow. He promised not to let Escrow walk out unharmed the next time they meet. He told himself that he will be the one to kill Escrow. He decided to fall back and recover his energy for now. Escrow looked around for Sagwong, but he eventually came down and disappeared. Thanks to his cloak, Escrow did not see Siwon. He was fortunate enough to live to see another day. Siwon knew that Sagwong and Escrow won't come here again for a while. He looked around the rubble for something. He quickly found what he was looking for. Siwon found the cellar from earlier. He wondered if there was something important inside or if it was a dungeon with treasures. When he opened the door, he found some stairs that went really deep inside. Siwon decided to go inside because it didn't look like any other person had been there before. He took out a lantern from his subspace. He was relieved to see that the lantern he took from the house he was farming in yesterday was useful. When Siwon arrived inside the room, he found a large amount of food inside. He could not believe that it was just a food cellar. Siwon was quite disappointed. He could not believe that there was a food cellar in this place when there is not even enough places to farm. Siwon wondered about what he should do. He realized that he has only eaten tasteless jerky ever since he got here. An hour later, we see Siwon lying on the ground after filling himself up with food. He was quite satisfied. He felt like the dish would have been perfect if he had white rice. He decided to start consuming the elixir. He recalled that he had a martial arts manual. He took out the manual of the unstoppable fist. The system revealed to him that a man named Manhwa developed this technique in his later years. With a lifetime of martial arts combat experience, Manhwa poured his heart and soul into creating an unbeatable martial arts. However, with a record of 1429 matches and 1429 losses, Manhwa lived his life as a laughingstock. His martial arts was lost because he had no disciples. Siwon was annoyed to see that he picked up something like this. He decided to think about it later and focus on the elixir. He took it out of his subspace. He hesitated a bit because of the pain he experienced when he activated the circle stone. He eventually drank it because he kept thinking about getting stronger. The moment he did this, he could feel his dantian filling up with inner energy. The amount of energy he absorbed earlier could not be compared to this. He began to sweat heavily and his movements became dull. Siwon realized that he really won't be able to move for 3 hours. 3 hours later, we see Siwon breathing heavily. He fell to the ground. He could not believe that it was tiring for him to stay still for 3 hours. Siwon did not expect that he would spend an entire week in a forest and even survive during a clash between an archmage and Sagwong. He was extremely proud of himself. Due to the events that took place, Siwon was quite tired. He fell asleep on the ground. The next day, his lantern went out and the 13th day of Cloyd's survival began. Siwon came out of the cellar when he woke up. He realized that the mansion was now near the restricted zone like he predicted. He called out to the player count to see the status of the game. There were now 10 survivors left. This means that someone died. Siwon was surprised to see the person that died. It was Zhang Duqian. The elder killed himself. Siwon could not believe that he did this. He wondered if the elder tried some absurd training method just because there was no risk involved. Duqian's chest was left in a cave. Siwon could not think of any reason why the elder would kill himself apart from this. Siwon was relieved that he entered the top 10, but he did not like the fact that he got there like this. It left a bad taste in his mouth. While thinking, Siwon noticed that a part of his cloak was outside the barrier. He realized that the map was already shrinking. He didn't want to die from being caught in the restricted zone. He decided to get away from this area quickly. As Siwon ran through the forest, he told himself that he will continue the strategy that kept him alive all this time. For someone like him who has no skills, this was the best way to climb higher. While he was running, he turned around when he sensed something. Someone fired an attack at him. Siwon was able to dodge the attack, but it sent him flying. He was shocked to see the powerful attack. He wondered about where it came from. He realized that there is a mage who can summon such a powerful fireball. He quickly turned around. He was shocked to see Escrow. The mage sensed someone through his detection spell. He thought it was Sagwong. He did not expect it to be a new face. Siwon realized that he was caught up using his newfound inner energy to move quickly, and ended up running into Escrow. He could not believe that he made such a stupid mistake. Escrow asked him if he knows where someone named Sagwong is. He told Siwon that he will die if he doesn't give him the answer he wants. While he was talking, we see someone hiding behind a tree. The person smiled when he heard what Escrow said. The person turned out to be Sagwong. Siwon pointed his crossbow at Escrow. He told the mage that he doesn't know what he is talking about since they just met. He told him that it is impossible for him to know where Sagwong is. Escrow told Siwon that he looks like someone from a similar region as Sagwong. He told him that he will die here. Immediately he said this. Sagwong charged at him from above. He attacked Escrow when he got close to him. Fortunately for Escrow, his shield blocked the attack. He quickly turned around. He did not expect that someone was hiding behind him. With a smile on his face, Sagwong told Escrow that he is already fully recovered. He asked him if he doesn't lack mana. Siwon was shocked to see Sagwong. He did not know where he came from. Sagwong clenched his fist and said that he will finish things with his attack. His attack destroyed Escrow's shield, but his hand was not able to reach the mage. Escrow asked Sagwong if he believes that a simple attack like this can defeat him. The moment he said this, he felt a large amount of pain. With a smile on his face, Sagwong asked the mage if he has ever heard of enhanced energy. Arm energy is a martial arts under enhanced energy. It is so rare that barely anyone mastered it. Sagwong did not think that he would have to use it in this world. He covered his arm with his energy and used it to pierce through Escrow's throat. Sagwong revealed to the mage that this is his first time showing it in this world. He asked him to be honored. Immediately as he said this, he took out his hand from Escrow's throat. The mage coughed out some blood. Sagwong was relieved to see that Escrow will no longer be able to cast his annoying spells. He told Escrow that making it into the top 5 would have been easy for him. He told him that meeting him will be his greatest regret. Siwon quickly wore his cloak. He was relieved to see that Sagwong came. He decided to run away while Sagwong was fighting Escrow. Before he could do anything, he heard Sagwong ask the mage to die. The moment he said this, he stabbed Escrow in the stomach. He stabbed him again in his shoulder. The mage coughed out a large amount of blood. As Siwon watched the invincible archmage get utterly destroyed by Sagwong, what came to his mind wasn't the fear of Sagwong or pity for Escrow. It was a thought that preceded everything else. Siwon wondered about how powerful he will become if he absorbs their life chi. After stabbing the mage multiple times, Sagwong let him go. He asked Escrow to tell him where his cocky nature went to. He asked him if he has any last words before he dies. He quickly realized that Escrow cannot speak. The moment he said this, Escrow referred to him as the man who killed his most beloved apprentice, whose name is Elizabeth. Sagwong was surprised to hear the mage talking inside his head. Escrow told Sagwong that he regretted not stopping Elizabeth when she was kicked out of the academy and not recognized by the Crane sect just because she is a woman. Sagwong told Escrow that there is no way he wouldn't have noticed if he killed a woman. He told the mage that Elizabeth must have looked no different from a man. Escrow smiled and told Sagwong that he can finally shut his filthy mouth. Sagwong asked him about what he means. Immediately he said this. Siwon saw something shocking. He saw something coming from the sky. It was a huge meteor. Siwon could not believe his eyes. Sagwong was also shocked to see the meteor. He did not understand how it was possible for Escrow to cast a spell in his condition. He couldn't even chant. Escrow revealed to him that this is the ultimate spell. Only an archmage can cast it with their mana and life chi as the price. The spell is known as Armageddon. Sagwong began to run. He called Escrow an insane bastard. Siwon also ran. He realized that he should have ran away earlier. As the meteor got closer to him, Escrow said that it was nice for him to see his disciple. He hoped that he would meet her again. His body slowly disintegrated as the meteor crushed him. His chest was left behind. When the meteor touched the ground, it caused a ridiculously large explosion. An elf saw the meteor destroy the surroundings. He realized that only Escrow was capable of casting a spell of this magnitude. The scene shifts and we see Siwon lying on the ground. He was covered in blood. He told himself that he should have ran out of there when he got the chance. He said that it is all because of Escrow's life chi. He opened his subspace. He said that he cannot die like this, fortunately for him. He got a lot of healing scrolls for a situation like this. He used his teeth to tear the scroll. He slowly regained his energy. Siwon realized that he would have never been able to escape if he hadn't drank the elixir. While breathing heavily, he tore another healing scroll. Even though he already healed himself, he was still in pain. After using numerous healing scrolls, Siwon was able to get up. He could not believe that he used up all the healing scrolls he had. He quickly opened the player count. He saw that Sagwong took out Escrow. Siwon was surprised to see that the mage really died. He wanted to take his life chi. He wondered why there was no kill log to show Sagwong's death. Siwon realized that the vicious monster might still be alive. While he was thinking, he heard someone call out for help. He moved towards the direction of the sound he heard. When he pushed some leaves away, he saw someone asking for help. Siwon was shocked to see who it is. It was Sagwong. The boy was holding a healing scroll in his mouth. He was heavily injured. He had even lost his arms. Sagwong didn't want to die like this. Siwon was not really surprised to see how injured he was. He knew that it would have been difficult for Sagwong to dodge a meteor aimed at him. He noticed that Sagwong can't use the healing scrolls because of how injured he was. While he was thinking, Sagwong saw him. The boy begged Siwon to assist him in tearing the scroll. Siwon asked him if he is Sagwong. The boy became shocked. Siwon explained to Sagwong that he always wondered about the kind of gear he used to get so strong whenever his name pops up on the kill log. He told Sagwong that he was certain that he will win the game. He did not expect to see Sagwong in this state. Sagwong promised Siwon that he will make him the winner if he helps him this one time. He assured him that it will be easy for him to make him a winner. He asked Siwon if he really believes that he can win this game alone by killing him. Siwon took out a sword from his subspace. He believed that he will be the strongest if he kills Sagwong and takes his life chi and items. He raised his sword and smiled at Sagwong. The boy asked him to wait. He told Siwon that he doesn't know the amount of strong players that are in this game. He revealed to Siwon that he doesn't have many items. He told him that his martial arts weren't learned here. Siwon believed that Sagwong should at least know the name of the person who is about to kill him. He introduced himself to Sagwong. Sagwong promised Siwon that he will never forget his name even if he dies like this. The moment he said this, Siwon stabbed him in the head. Due to the fact that Sagwong looks like a young boy, Siwon felt guilty about killing him. Immediately he thought of this. He felt something. He felt Sagwong's life chi. Siwon was shocked to feel the enormous amount of life chi that Sagwong had. He referred to the boy as a human elixir. He could feel an immense surge of inner energy filling him. While he was absorbing the energy, other players received alerts that there are only 8 players left. The players were informed that Siwon killed Sagwong with a long sword. An elf who happens to be an archer said that the foxes will run rampant now that the tiger is dead. Siwon was still very shocked to feel Sagwong's energy. He realized that he could face anyone with his current power. He decided to check Sagwong's chest. Siwon hoped that someone as strong as Sagwong still search for items. He knew that his mood will be ruined if he doesn't see anything inside the chest. When he opened the chest, a green light shined on him. Siwon was shocked to see the items in the chest. He found some rings in the chest. He got a ring called Kaiser's Ring, which greatly raises his agility. A blue ring called Dreamer's Ring, which greatly raises his strength. Siwon got a ring known as Galen's Ring, which greatly raises his stamina. The 4th ring is Tokar's Ring, which greatly raises his magic resistance. The 5th ring was also another Toka's Ring. Siwon could not believe that Sagwong only farmed rare items. He was annoyed when he remembered that Sagwong acted like he wasn't using any items. Siwon quickly opened his status window. He saw that his strength was now at 70. His stamina was also at 70. His agility was at 75 and his magic resistance was at 90. Siwon could not believe his eyes. He believed that he could win with these stats, aside from the rings. There was also a variety of martial arts manuals. But they were all things that Siwon couldn't learn immediately. He needed to fulfill certain conditions before learning them. While looking at his status window, Siwon felt something. He felt someone's presence. The moment he turned around, someone activated his escrow-style fire and used a spell known as Strike to shoot a large amount of fire at Siwon. The mage watched Siwon as he burned. He told Siwon that he shouldn't have let his guard down just because he is farming. Since Siwon fell for this level of ambush, the mage believed that he defeated Sagwong by luck. The moment he thought of this, Siwon asked him about who he is. The man was shocked to see Siwon talking to him. He could not believe that his fire spell didn't do anything. Siwon told the man that he saw something flash at him. Siwon now had a magic resistance of 90. This level of magic was nothing more than a petty trick. Siwon slowly walked up to the man. The man asked him to stay back. He asked him to tell him what he is planning to do. He told Siwon that he will hit him with a stronger spell if he takes another step. He raised his staff and activated his escrow-style fire again. He gathered fire at the tip of his staff. Siwon told him that his attack won't do much to him. The man fired his attack at Siwon with a spell known as explosion. Siwon simply stood there and took the attack head-on. It didn't do anything to him. He clenched his fist and used the first chapter of the Unstoppable Fist to attack the mage. The attack is known as the Piercing Fist. Siwon gave the mage a heavy blow in his chest. The mage spat out some blood when he received the attack. He was sent flying. He slammed his back on a tree. Siwon was shocked to see the power of his attack. He remembered that the Unstoppable Fist was a martial art used by someone who always lost. He didn't think that it would do much. He realized that the strength of a martial art varies based on the amount of inner energy a person possesses. The mage coughed and died. There were now 7 players left in this world. It was announced that Siwon killed Jahark with a fist art. Siwon took the man's life chi. He realized that average magic spells won't work on him now that his magic resistance is higher. Siwon put on his cloak. He understood that everyone who was hiding is coming out because Sagwang is dead. He realized that he has a long night ahead of him. He began to run. He smiled when he noticed that he could now imitate Dokyeon's movements. He thanked the elder for what he did for him. He said that he is definitely going to win the game. An hour later, Siwon was seen hanging from a tree. He was trying to get a good view of his surroundings. While he was looking around, someone asked him to stop hiding. Siwon could not believe that someone was being so loud at night. The man asked him to fight him if he is not scared. He called him a coward bastard and asked him about where he is hiding. The man known as Stark said that everyone is hiding because they are scared of him. The moment he said this, Stark sensed something coming towards him. He raised his sword and used it to block an arrow. He said that this is a stupid move. He asked Siwon to come out and have a fight with him like a real man. Siwon did not expect to see an arrow. He wondered about who fired it at the man. Stark knew that there was only one person who could put this much aura into an arrow. He raised his head and called out to the man known as Zurikana. The elf archer asked him if he knows who he is. Stark said that every mercenary knows about the legend of the divine archer. He asked him if he is not also trying to win the game. He suggested that they team up and take Siwon out. Zurikana smiled when he heard this. He came down from the tree and moved close to the man. Stark told him that he made the right choice. He introduced himself as a mercenary who works for the guild. He said that he is someone who is quite famous in the guild. He assured the divine archer that he will not regret making this decision. Zurikana told him that it is fine. Stark believed that Zurikana was stupid even though his reputation has spread across their world. Zurikana said that he calculated his timing poorly. He said that there is still 3 seconds left. The moment he said this, Stark told him that an archer shouldn't make the mistake of closing the distance themselves. He raised his sword and asked Zurikana to die and give him his items. The divine archer did not seem shocked by the man's actions. Immediately Stark swung his sword. An arrow pierced through his head from behind. His sword couldn't even reach Zurikana. Upon seeing that he was dead, Zurikana turned around. He felt insulted that an insect like that asked him to cooperate. He said that even a passing dog would piss on someone like him. The divine archer was more interested in finding Siwon. He could not believe that he lost some time dealing with an idiot. Siwon came down from the tree when the man walked past him. In a situation where there are only 6 people left, each person's life chi is precious to Siwon. Siwon raised his hand to take Stark's life chi. Immediately, he did this. Zurikana turned around and looked in Siwon's direction. It was as if he could see Siwon. Siwon was shocked to see the man looking at him. He was certain that his cloak even shields him from detection. He wondered if the archer has a skill that he doesn't know about. Siwon felt like he messed up. He let his guard down because he was thinking about the life chi. It turns out that Zurikana was looking at the chest. He said that a trash bastard like Stark probably only has trash items. He turned around and decided to leave the items. When the man walked forward, Siwon fell to the ground. He was quite relieved to see that the man left. He realized that the divine archer senses are too good. Siwon believed that this man will be his next opponent. In the next scene, we see the restricted zone barrier move past some trees and make the area smaller. While running in the forest, Siwon noticed that the restricted zone was getting smaller faster. There were now 6 survivors left and there is still 87 days left in the game. Siwon understood that the barrier adjusts to the amount of survivors left. Immediately he thought of this. Siwon saw something shocking. He saw a field filled with tall grass. Siwon knew that he will get the attention of people around him if he fights someone here. He carefully entered the grass field. Before he could get far, someone fired an attack at him. Siwon turned around when he heard an odd sound. He was surprised to see numerous attacks coming towards him. He quickly jumped to dodge the attacks. Siwon took a look at the attack when he landed on the ground. He noticed that the magic was aimed at his exact position. He was certain that it would be impossible for his opponent to see him because he is wearing his cloak. He wondered about how they were able to fire at him. The moment he thought of this, he looked up to see more attacks. He could not believe his eyes. He knew that he couldn't dodge them all like before. He took a stance and clenched his fist. He decided to take it on with his inner energy. He covered his hand with his energy and attacked with the piercing fist. His attack destroyed the magic when it touched it. Nothing was able to stop the attack. Siwon was shocked to see this. He realized that he is stronger than he thought. He jumped to get a better view of the area. He wanted to get his opponent's location. He was able to quickly spot his enemy. The man was shocked to see Siwon in the air. He wondered about who Siwon was. He could not believe that Siwon blocked an attack that he used all his mana to fire. While in the air, Siwon called out to the man. Unfortunately, he was too late. Someone stabbed the man from behind. The man was shocked to see this. He turned around to see his attacker. He could not believe that he was not able to sense the man's presence. The man with blue hair told him that he should have left enough mana for detection magic and barrier magic. He said that it is easy for him to erase his traces as an assassin. He asked the man to rest in peace. The moment he said this, the man dissipated. There were now 5 survivors in the game. When Siwon landed on the ground, the man asked him if he is Siwon. Siwon asked him if he knows him. The man said that he does. He reminded him that he killed the number 1 public enemy. He told Siwon that everyone is desperate to kill him. He raised his blades and asked Siwon not to resist pointlessly. He advised him to go out quietly. He said that he has never failed to take out a target he has laid his eyes on. He charged at Siwon and asked him to die. Siwon clenched his fist and ran towards the man. The assassin told him that he is too slow. He raised his blades and moved past Siwon at a crazy speed. He made Siwon bleed when he moved past him. He landed several cuts on Siwon's hand. When Siwon turned around, the assassin told him that he wanted cut through him. He told Siwon that he is sturdier than he thought. Siwon realized that his arm would have been chopped off if he hadn't covered himself up with inner energy. He could tell that this assassin is strong. The man smiled and told Siwon that his death is only a matter of time. He said that he has never failed to assassinate someone in the dark. Siwon didn't know what to do. He had faced mages until now. He didn't know how to handle an assassin. The moment he thought of this, Siwon realized something. The man raised his blades and told Siwon that he will end him now. Immediately he said this. He vanished right in front of Siwon. Siwon was surprised to see this. The man reappeared next to him and used his sword to tear Siwon apart. To his surprise, Siwon's body disappeared in front of him. Siwon told the man that his stealth skills are quite remarkable. The assassin was shocked to hear his voice in the air. He asked Siwon about where he is. Siwon told him that his stealth skills are nothing compared to his cloak. He grabbed the man's hands and held him down. He explained to him that he can follow the movement of someone at his level by tracking his energy. The assassin called Siwon a coward for attacking him from behind. Siwon reminded him that he said that he will end him. He asked him to repeat what he said. He broke the man's arms when he said this. The assassin screamed out in pain. He asked Siwon if he thinks that he will be able to beat everyone else on his own. He advised him to team up with him if he wants to get first place. Siwon pushed his hand into the assassin's body and destroyed his heart. The assassin spat out a large amount of blood and died. There were now 4 survivors left in this world. The system announced that Siwon killed Tamirin with fist arts. Siwon took the life chi of the 2 men and secured the healing scrolls they dropped. He wanted to farm quickly and get out of there because of the commotion they caused. Siwon found a martial arts manual in Tamirin's chest. He found it odd that the assassin was carrying something that didn't suit him at all. The martial arts manual is known as the Shadow Clone Manual. It is a martial art that allows Siwon to create clones of himself that can fight. The number of clones depends on his internal energy. The system asks Siwon if he wants to learn it. Siwon accepted the offer. The manual slowly disappeared. Siwon was relieved to see that the assassin didn't know how to use inner energy. If he was able to learn this and use it well, it would have been difficult for Siwon to kill him. The other man had a grimoire called Carmen's Eyes in his chest. It is the highest tier detection spell that is supposed to look through any stealth skill. Seowon's magic circle was too low to learn the skill. Seowon now understood how the man was able to find him even though he wore his cloak. While he was looking through the grimoire, someone fired an arrow at him from behind. Seowon unknowingly bent his head a bit. The arrow scratched his face. He was surprised to see the arrow. There was only one archer that he knew among the survivors. When Seowon raised his head up, he saw a huge magic attack coming towards him. Seowon had never seen this type of magic before. He wondered about who was using it. He realized that it was too late for him to run away. He decided to concentrate all his inner energy into his fist. He used a technique of the unstoppable fist known as ultimate piercing fist to attack the magic. Seowon used his hand to destroy the powerful attack and made it crumble. The rocks fell around him. Since 2 attacks came in at once, Seowon was able to deduce that this is a 2-person team. The moment he thought of this, someone appeared behind him and told him that he is quite strong. The man swung his sword at Seowon. Seowon was able to dodge the attack. He quickly moved back. He did not think that there would be 3 people in the group. The swordsman pointed his sword at him and told him that his luck has run out. The swordsman is Carson's king. His name is Centurk. The mage is the demon king's right arm. His name is Garen. The 3rd person in the group is the divine archer. The last 3 survivors came together to face Seowon. Seowon did not know what to do. Seowon could not believe that he ran into teamers when he almost won. He knew that the best way to break apart a team is to create a situation where they betray each other. Seowon had to figure out the type of relationship they had with each other. Garen jumped down from the cliff and told the king of Carson that it is an honor to meet him. The king referred to Garen as a mere black mage and asked him not to speak to him. Garen laughed and asked him to pardon his manners. He told Centurk that there is something more important than status here. Centurk said that he does not know if it is worth it to team up with a vagrant to obtain a better reward. Seowon realized that they did not want to team up. He carefully put on his cloak as Seowon slowly disappeared. Centurk suggested that they take care of his annoying stealth first. Garen said that this is easy for him. The moment he said this, he released a blinding bright light from his hand. Seowon was shocked to see this. When he looked up, he saw a large orb that released a bright light in the air. Garen told Seowon that he can't hide again now that there is no darkness for him to hide in. Centurk told the mage that he is smarter than he thought. Seowon did not expect the mage to use this method. He recalled that his cloak can only hide him in the dark. He did not think that his cloak would have this loophole. Garen revealed to Seowon that he wanted to thank Sagwong for taking care of escrow for him. He said that he feels bad that he can't thank Sagwong himself. With a smile on his face, he told Seowon that it is now his turn to die in the name of the great demon king. Immediately he said this. He released his magic and created a small tornado with spinning blades. The spell is known as Chaos Blade. The attack destroyed his surroundings. Seowon was surprised to see this. Most of the mages that he had met were weak at close range. Seowon believed that Garen will use the attack if he gets close and he might get caught up in the magic. He will find it hard to cast the spell properly. Seowon charged at the mage. He wanted to end this fight with close combat. The moment Garen saw Seowon coming towards him, he called him an ignorant bastard and fired his attack at him. Seowon went into the attack. He covered his body with his inner energy in order to reduce the damage he takes. He told himself that he will break through the attack and get close to the mage at any cost. While the blades were tearing him apart, the cloak also got damaged. The system informed Seowon that he needs to repair it to access its functions again. Seowon grit his teeth to withstand the pain. The energy surrounding his body was slowly cracking and now his cloak was also destroyed. Garen was certain that Seowon will be torn apart by his attack. While he was looking at his Chaos Blade, Garen heard someone call out the first chapter of the Unstoppable Fist. He was shocked to hear Seowon's voice. Seowon jumped out of the Chaos Blade and charged at the man. He wanted to attack him with his piercing fist. The mage smiled when he saw him coming close. He told Seowon that he is arrogant. He asked him to give up because there is no way for him to win. He raised his fingers and cast a spell known as Dead Man's Hand. Several hands came out of the ground and rushed to grab Seowon. Seowon did not expect this. Among the mages he had fought so far, Garen was on a different level before the hands could grab him. Seowon put his hands together and activated his shadow clone technique. The hands grabbed his clone. Seowon was able to move past it. Garen was shocked to see this. He assumed that Seowon only knew how to throw punches. He did not expect him to be able to use shadow clone magic. He told Seowon that he uses petty tricks. Seowon didn't care because he had gotten close to Garen. He told himself that this is his victory. Garen wanted to activate a barrier. But before he could do anything, Centric used a technique known as piercing blade to stab Garen from the back and stab Seowon too. The mage was shocked to see a sword pass through his body. He turned around and asked Centric if a king does something this cowardly. Centric took out his sword and said that there is no honor greater than victory. He reminded the mage that he never said that he will cooperate with him. Before Garen disappeared, he thanked him for getting rid of Seowon. The system announced that Centric killed Garen with sword arts. Centric turned to the divine archer and told him that they are the only ones left. He glared at Jurokwana when he remembered that the man was a nuisance for his army. He found it ironic that the divine archer ended up helping him. Jurokwana smiled and told the king that it is too early for him to say this. The king asked him about what he is talking about. The moment he said this, Seowon appeared next to him and gave him a heavy punch. The attack broke his armor and sent him flying. He got slammed on a huge rock. Seowon struggled to catch his breath. He told Jurokwana that they are the last two. The divine archer thought that Seowon died to Centric's sword. He realized that it was a shadow clone. Seowon asked him to not talk. He asked the archer to come at him. With a smile on his face, Jurokwana said that everyone has such impatient personalities. He told Seowon that he has a more pressing business with Centric. Centric called Seowon a bastard. He told him that he is pissing him off with his antics. He stood up and broke the rest of his armor. He wondered about how Seowon survived. He was certain that his sword stabbed Seowon. He commended Seowon for destroying an armor made by a master smith of Carson. Seowon tore the torn clothes off his body. He told the king that he is also talking too much. He asked him if he is going to fight with the archer or they are going to fight him one at a time. Centric told Seowon that he will regret making him give it his all. Immediately he said this. He disappeared in front of Seowon. Seowon was shocked to see how fast he was. Centric appeared next to him and stabbed him in his arm. He told Seowon that no one can go against his speed. He revealed to him that he is targeting his ligaments. He told him that he won't be able to use this arm again. Centric believed that Seowon needed both hands to use his other skills. Seowon could not comprehend what was happening. He thought that Centric was a strength-type character. The king moved so fast that he couldn't even feel his energy. Seowon grit his teeth and told himself that he cannot lose like this. He said that he worked too hard to get to this point. Seowon decided to trust the inner energy within him. He used his other hand to break Centric's sword in half. The king was shocked to see what Seowon did to his rapier. Seowon took out the blade in his arm and used the Black Star chi palms to fire it at Centric at a crazy speed. The king was able to dodge it, but it left a scratch on his face. He was shocked to see that Seowon injured his face. Seowon took out a healing scroll and tore it to heal his arm. Centric asked him if he is going to struggle until the end. He activated a skill known as Aura Blade and created a blade with his energy. He told Seowon that he acknowledges him since he made him use his Aura Blade. Since his arm was now healed up, Seowon decided to use a skill. He put his hands together and activated his Shadow Clone skill. He released all his inner energy. He was able to create several clones. Centric told Seowon that he is using some annoying tricks. He said that the winner will always be him. Seowon called him a fraud and asked him to brace himself because he has gotten serious. Meanwhile, high atop the cliff, Jurokwana lounged with growing impatience, hoped that one of them would die now. He wanted to finish the match quickly. As 8 identical figures of Seowon positioned themselves around the battlefield, each poised to strike, Seowon told Centric that this time, he would truly face him in a serious battle. Centric, on the other hand, mocked Seowon and told him to stop talking and start attacking. But in Centric's thoughts, he only had a maximum of 2 minutes for his Aura Blade to work and needed to finish Seowon within that time frame. Seowon also thought that his internal energy was almost depleted, so he needed this battle to end as well. Without a second thought, Seowon launched an attack at Centric. As Seowon used his technique to multiply himself, Centric was unfazed and used his Aura Blade to attack Seowon. But then, the real Seowon suddenly appeared behind Centric and attacked his back using his palm technique. Centric tried to retaliate and slash Seowon while calling him a sneaky bastard. After slashing, he couldn't believe that he couldn't feel anything, realizing he had hit a clone again. He then decided that since he couldn't detect the clone or the main body, he would just cut them all down at once. Suddenly, before he could execute his plan, a solid punch from Seowon hit his face hard, making him spit out some blood. Blood scattered through the air as his head nearly twisted from Seowon's punch. At the same time, he tried to find Seowon's real body and successfully spotted it. Seowon then arrogantly asked Centric how his punch tasted. He continued talking, telling Centric that it would be better to stop looking for his main body. Centric, on the other hand, was shocked that Seowon knew what he was trying to do. While his clones continued attacking Centric, Seowon revealed that Centric would never be able to tell the difference between the clones, as all the clones made from his spirit illusion steps could attack just like the real body. Seowon then used the technique Severing Fist as 2 clones attacked simultaneously. Centric dodged the attack as Seowon's kick landed on the ground. Centric then countered the attack and used his piercing aura blade technique, aiming at the clones that had just attacked him. The attack was so fierce that it emitted a golden aura as it struck the 2 clones, erasing them from existence. As the clones began to fade away from the attack, Centric muttered to himself that the clones' durability was terrible. Without a second thought, Seowon added 5 more clones. Centric started to worry about his aura blade, as there was only 1 minute left for him to use the technique. Meanwhile, at the top of the cliff, Jirokwana watched the battle and told himself that he did not expect Centric to struggle so much. Then, out of the blue, Centric called out to Jirokwana, telling him not to just stand there and help him. He added that if Jirokwana helped him win, he would give all the rewards to him in return. While watching the battle, Jirokwana shouted at Centric, telling him to watch out ahead. As Centric called for help, Seowon struck without warning, catching him completely off guard. But Centric quickly countered using his crushing wave aura technique. As Seowon dodged the attack and quickly executed his technique, Severing Fist, the attack hit Centric directly in the chest, blood spilling from his mouth as the shock wave reverberated around them. After the blow, Seowon's intense follow-up strike clashes violently with Centric's blade, but to his frustration, the attack is stopped short. Gritting his teeth, Seowon wonders if it was blocked. With a sudden charge, Centric grins and declares he's got Seowon this time. He lunges forward, piercing what he believes is Seowon's body, sending blood flying from the brutal impact. But as the figure stumbles, it flickers, and Seowon's real body reappears nearby, standing tall and bloodied, yet calm. The clone fades, revealing that the attack had once again missed its true target. Realizing he's been fooled again, Centric freezes, staring at the 2 Seowons before him. In disbelief, he mutters that this was a clone too, and that Seowon is really just toying with him. Centric's rage builds. Meanwhile, Seowon simply smiles coldly, calling the situation truly humiliating with a low chuckle. Snapping, Centric roars that he doesn't care about winning anymore. With veins bulging and fury in his eyes, he swears to use all his strength to rip Seowon to shreds. From afar, Jirokwana watches the escalating chaos and mocks Centric, wondering aloud if the Emperor of Madness is being revived. Back on the field, Centric unleashes a massive surge of energy, golden flames swirling around him as he dares Seowon to avoid it if he can. Exploding forward with terrifying speed, Centric charges toward both Seowon figures, his fists blazing as he aims to crush them in a single blow. After the impact fades, some of the clones are completely destroyed and begin to vanish. Centric scans the remaining figures carefully, breathing heavily, and narrows his eyes. Only 2 left now. Main body or clone? It's one or the other. But then, Seowon suddenly bursts forward, roaring that it's his turn now. With explosive force, he drives his fist towards Centric, unleashing a powerful technique, SK Straight Cut Fist. As Centric braces for impact, another Seowon flanks him from the opposite side and shouts, "Over here!" Both striking him simultaneously. Blood sprays out as the dual assault lands cleanly. Centric staggers and lets out a pained grunt, realizing with a grimace that the attack actually had an effect, leading him to believe it might be the real body. But just as one of the Seowons closes in, Centric counters in a flash, driving his glowing blade into its neck. The Seowon clone recoils in shock and pain. Feeling no resistance in his grip, Centric confirms aloud that this one was also a clone, discarding the body with frustration. Looking around, Centric wipes the blood from his face and questions whether only the main body is left now. He then spots the last Seowon, standing a short distance away, battered but firm. Without hesitation, Centric raises his blade, declaring with grim resolve that with this one clash, he'll end everything. Seowon narrows his eyes and shifts into stance, readying himself for Centric's final attack. And then, with a final charge, both warriors dash at full speed toward one another, ready for a decisive all-or-nothing blow. With fierce momentum, Seowon and Centric collide midair, their attacks clashing in a burst of light and force, fists and blades striking at the exact same moment. Standing back on the ground, Centric smirks and compliments Seowon, admitting he's quite skilled even when fighting unarmed. Then, his expression sharpens, intense and aggressive. He roars, daring Seowon to block his next move and activates his finishing technique, Aura Blade, Lightning Form. A devastating explosion of golden light erupts as Centric strikes again, lightning surging across the field in all directions, directly hitting Seowon's body and nearly tearing it apart. Seowon screams in pain, his body trembling as he struggles to endure the onslaught. Centric grins through the chaos, lightning flickering around him as he watches his opponent falter. Seowon is hurled backward by the sheer force, slamming into the ground with such impact that the earth cracks beneath him, his torso visibly cut open. Desperate and injured, Seowon gasps and tries to reason with Centric, shouting that if this continues, only Jurokwana will benefit. But instead of mercy, Centric drives his blade straight into Seowon's chest. Blood bursts from Seowon's mouth as the powerful strike lands with brutal force. In that instant, Centric groans in pain as something shifts. His grip falters and the aura blade begins to flicker and fade. Finally, his fingers loosen around the hilt of his weapon and the glow of lightning vanishes, signaling the beginning of a turning point in the battle. With heavy breaths and a blood-soaked body, Centric stands victorious over Seowon's corpse. He mutters that he barely managed to finish within the aura's duration. Still panting, he reflects that if he had been even a moment late, he would have been completely finished. But then, a pause. Something feels off. Turning his back, he grips his sword tightly, sensing that something is strange. A moment later, dread creeps in as he realizes something isn't right. There was no impact in his hand during the final blow. Suddenly, his eyes widen in horror. A brutal strike bursts from behind, catching him completely off guard. Seowon, very much alive, erupts in a counterattack that splits Centric open with overwhelming force. A system message confirms the result. Seowon defeats Centric, killed by strength. Standing near the fallen chest, Seowon notes that if he hadn't drained Centric's stamina using his clones, things could have gone the other way. As green energy flows into his body, Seowon evaluates the vitality gained from Centric. He notices that it isn't as much as Nam Sagwang's, but it's still a large amount. With it, he feels confident. He can now face Jurokwana. Meanwhile, from above, Jurokwana watches in surprise. He hadn't expected Centric to be defeated. Addressing Seowon, he sarcastically offers thanks, admitting Centric was quite the headache. Seowon glances up, trying to locate Jurokwana's position atop the cliff. Jurokwana draws his bow and declares that the king's competitive nature drove him to invest everything into Seowon. He adds that Seowon, who gave everything in return, will also die by his hand. He vows to personally honor Seowon's struggle. Then, with incredible speed and force, Jurokwana launches a glowing blue arrow straight at Seowon. The projectile tears through the air, causing Seowon to flinch and brace himself as it races toward him. Startled by the attack's speed and power, Seowon barely reacts in time. He watches the blue arrow shoot toward him with terrifying momentum. As the glowing blue arrow speeds toward him, Seowon suddenly activates his movement skill, immeasurable steps. His body splits into multiple afterimages, dashing forward at blinding speed to dodge the incoming attack while ascending the hill where Jurokwana is standing. Seeing the illusions, Jurokwana narrows his eyes and recognizes the technique, calling it that troublesome doppelganger move once again. Jurokwana then smirks, as if he already knows how to counter Seowon's cloning technique. He fires another powerful shot with his bow. Then, with ruthless precision, the arrow pierces one of the Seowon figures. Blood erupts violently from the real Seowon's left leg. His body twists midair in pain, confirming the attack hit its mark. The real Seowon tumbles backward, crashing hard down the cliffside. Once Jurokwana confirms that he's safe, he descends toward Seowon's collapsed body. He lands with a light step, ready to finish the job. Approaching confidently, Jurokwana states that he'll have to make sure Seowon can't escape. Meanwhile, Seowon lies wounded and helpless on the ground, yelling in desperation, "No!" As Jurokwana draws his bow again, the arrow pierces straight through Seowon's hand, making him cry out in pain. Another arrow strikes his left hand, causing blood to gush out as he grits his teeth. Shouting furiously, Seowon demands to know how Jurokwana figured out which one was the real body so quickly. His eyes burn with disbelief. With a faint smile, Jurokwana answers casually, "It was just a gut feeling." He looks down at Seowon, lying among the fading clones, unfazed and confident. Seowon, battered and exhausted, was shocked by the reply, as he struggles to process Jurokwana's calm demeanor. Jurokwana responds by acknowledging Seowon's effort and determination, saying he respects it. But Seowon spits back in defiance, cursing Jurokwana and shouting, "Respect my ass. Give it to the dogs." And without further discussion, Jurokwana fired the final shot directly into Seowon's head. A notification then appears. Jurokwana has killed Seowon with an arrow. A few minutes later, Jurokwana stands in front of Seowon's lifeless body, asking himself if the game is over. Suddenly, Seowon's body, just like the previous players who died, turns into a chest. An announcement is made. The Cloyd survival game has now ended. Seowon, now sent to what seems like another dimension, watches as his body becomes a chest while Jurokwana stands in front of it. Seowon mutters that he really messed up in the game and completely gave it away. Noticing alone, he reflects on how at least he got to eat the meal Nam Sagwang had prepared. A system message then appears, congratulating him for ranking in the final 2. Another notification follows. You have qualified to participate in the next game. Seowon turns to the side, startled and confused. Realizing what that means, he mutters in disbelief, asking aloud if there's really another game after this. The system then informs him of his rewards, including kill bonus points. He has earned 140 reward coins. Now standing in a cosmic-looking space, Seowon responds, puzzled by the term. Coins? All his previous items appear, surrounding him, as the system summons them. Several notifications pop up, displaying different items and their coin values. Carmen's necklace for 3 coins, Ring of Strength for 20 coins, and Carmen's Eye Magic Book for 50 coins. Seowon remarks that he picked up a lot of stuff. The system displays a new message. You can take the items acquired with reward coins. Seowon stares at a skill book labeled Spirit Illusion Steps, 130 coins, stunned by the high cost. He realizes that buying just this one would nearly use up all his coins. Another system notice appears. The final 5 players are given a chance to spin the roulette and draw an item. Seowon reacts with surprise. Oh, there's a gacha? As the description explains, it's a system where items can be obtained randomly. A message confirms. Jin Seowon has come in second place, so he has 2 chances. Seowon thinks aloud that if he gets either the Cloak of Invisibility or Spirit Illusion Steps, he could save a lot of coins. Encouraged by the odds, he grins with excitement and declares, if I'm lucky, this could be a huge gain. With confidence, Seowon begins to spin the glowing roulette. As the roulette slows, Seowon panics and yells, stop, but it's too late. The result locks in. Asgro's necklace, he stares in disbelief at the outcome. Furious that, of all things, the cheapest item had to appear. He calls it a joke. Frustrated, Seowon grabs his head and demands to know why something like that had to come out. How many items were even in the pool? Realizing he still has one more chance, he clenches his fist and regains his resolve. Standing before the roulette again, he prays desperately, calling out to God, Buddha, Jesus, or anyone out there. As the wheel begins its second spin, still staring at the spinning roulette, he suddenly yells out for the spinning roulette to stop. His voice full of urgency and anticipation. The ring spins to a halt, and his eyes widen in disbelief as the result is revealed. The notification appears, Ring of Subspace, and then, with another burst, Skill Book. He watches in shock as the final result lands on Spirit Illusion Steps. A brilliant light envelopes him as the skill is confirmed, Spirit Illusion Steps. From behind, he stands awestruck beneath the golden glow, completely stunned. A system notification flashes, Spirit Illusion Steps. He clenches his fist in excitement, then celebrates, calling it the most expensive thing he got, thrilled that it feels like he just doubled his coins. Another system message appears, informing him that they will now provide the items he had acquired. His eyes follow the glowing book floating toward him. Then a second message appears, informing him that he can buy items using coins and will be moved automatically once he's done. He looks around at the gear, ready to begin. As he picks out items, it is explained that drawing Spirit Illusion Steps helped him save many coins, but there were so many tempting items that it was hard for him to decide. After some thought, he makes his choices. Since he couldn't stay in this space forever, he finalizes his decisions and finishes shopping. The system acknowledges him for his efforts and wishes him luck in the next game. He's suddenly engulfed in a radiant flash and then reappears in a familiar alleyway. Looking around in confusion, he mutters, wondering if he's really back in his world. He lifts his hand and sees a familiar item resting in his palm. Recognizing it instantly, he confirms that the ring is definitely the Ring of Subspace brought from Cloyd's survival. Gripping the ring tightly, he breathes out. It's not a dream. His eyes stay fixed on the item as he slips the ring onto his finger. A slight breeze blows around his feet. He glances at his bag, then picks it up. Walking away down the street, he reflects that his first game has ended. On the surface, not much looks different, but deep down, he senses that something big has begun. Smiling to himself, he now feels that his entrance exams isn't the problem anymore. Looking at the ring on his finger, he thinks back to the moment he heard it. He remembers it clearly. There will be a next game. The Ring of Subspace, purchased for 30 coins, glows faintly. Determined, he clenches his fist and starts walking quickly, declaring that although he only got second place this time, which he thinks is unfortunate, he needs to be ready and prepare himself for the next game. With determination in his eyes, he clenches his fist and declares internally that he's definitely going to win the next game. The scene shifts to the building exterior. This is the studio apartment his parents found for him near the school, so he could prepare for his return to university. Now entering his apartment, his thoughts are no longer focused on his entrance exams, resuming a more ordinary life, but fully on becoming stronger using what he gained from the game. As he drops his bag onto his chair, he continues thinking that in the second game, he doesn't want to remain in a weak position or just run away like he did in the first one. As he begins meditating, he realizes that his energy core feels completely empty. This makes him wonder if he used all of his inner energy during that last fight. Since he can't simply kill people in real life to get their life chi, he has to recover it using cultivation techniques like the old man taught him. A flashback shows the elder explaining that internal energy is accumulated through cultivation. Once the core is formed, one can simply gather energy over time by focusing. This might not be as fast as the other method, but if he can make it a habit, he might master it before he knows it. Seo-won asks him if he can become as strong as him if he just keeps training. This makes the old man laugh and he reminds him not to shoot beyond his limits. However, soon after, he makes a serious expression and mentions that there is no saying what his limits truly are. Back in the present, he has been meditating for 4 hours now, but he still hasn't gathered much inner energy. This makes him frustrated and he realizes that this is a lot more difficult than the game. If he continues at this pace, it might take him years to completely fill up his energy. Seo-won decides to leave it for now and starts organizing the items he brought back from the game. He takes out the Shadow Clone manual from the subspace and starts sweating as he wonders if he also needs to train it little by little just like his inner energy. In order to try it, he opens the book and the system asks him if he wants to learn the technique. This is a bit surprising for him as the system from the game works in real life too. Fortunately for him, the technique doesn't take long to learn, but it's still not as powerful as in the game. To check out his other items, he reaches into the subspace and takes out Escrow's necklace. This is the cheapest item he got, but it's still made out of pure gold. He suddenly realizes that he can make a lot of money if he sells it to a local jeweler. Moreover, he can take back multiple of these necklaces in the next game and become rich. It might not have any value in the game, but it's expensive in real life. Afterwards, he takes out the troll potion, which guarantees a healthy life for a year for anyone who drinks it. Seo-won has completely turned into a businessman by now, so he thinks about selling it to a rich terminal patient. With all these items, he realizes that he can actually make a lot of money from the game. Suddenly, he remembers that he hasn't really eaten any real food these past days except tough jerky strips. To make up for it, he goes to a nearby hotel called Grandma's Diner. He orders a meal that he would normally consider a luxury, but he doesn't care about those things anymore since all he needs right now is some tasty food. The food is so good that he starts crying. The grandma notices him and mentions that he came here yesterday too. He nervously tells her that the food is just too tasty. This also makes him realize that time stops when he is in the game. After eating, he makes his way back, questioning when the next game is going to start. He also remembers the ring of strength he brought back and wonders if it also works the same in real life. After putting on the ring, he tries jumping but accidentally launches himself too high. His body almost feels like it's overflowing with strength. Landing back down, he looks around to make sure no one saw him and starts walking back. When he finally reaches home, he decides to use his elixir of insight, which he bought for 50 coins. He stares at the potion, thinking to himself that it didn't allow him to move for 3 hours when he absorbed it in-game. It might be a bit troublesome if it works the same way in real life. However, he decides to risk it and drinks the entire thing, causing him to shoot out energy from his eyes. It's now been 3 hours and someone has called the police on him since his house walls are almost melting from the heat. The old neighbor lady tells them that she tried knocking, but the door was just too hot to even touch. Even though there is literal steam coming out of the house, the police don't really take it seriously and mention that she should have called the fire department. Since there is no fire, they don't think there is any need to worry. It's only when one of them actually touches the door handle that they realize something fishy is going on inside. They knock on the door and ask him if he is okay. However, several seconds pass and no one answers. This makes them even more suspicious. But the door finally opens up and Seo-won comes out looking like a terminal patient. With sweat dripping from his face, he tells them that he had a fever, so he turned up the boiler a bit. The policeman asks him if he needs an ambulance, but he turns it down, saying that he will be fine. This is enough to make them leave, and they tell the old lady not to call the police for things like these. After they walk away, he drops to the ground with his back against the door, thinking to himself that he nearly died. The energy from the elixir was a bit too much, and if it wasn't for the white martial physique arts, he wouldn't have been able to contain it. Unlike in the game, there is a huge risk involved when doing things like this in real life. However, all this pain wasn't for nothing as he soon realizes how powerful he has become. Using just his palm strike causes all of his furniture to fly back. He also breaks his chair by accident and thinks to himself that he needs to sell some of the items to buy a new one. The next day, he goes to a nearby open gym, but it's a bit too crowded. He thinks about coming back after sunset when he suddenly notices some high school students coming his way. The kids are smoking, so an old guy from the park tells them that it's a no-smoking zone. Hearing this, one of them asks him who he is, since not even his parents say anything about him smoking. The old man doubles down and says that his parents must have failed to raise him properly if they don't care about him smoking. This makes the student mad, and he prepares to punch the old guy. Fortunately, Seo-won comes to the rescue and kicks the guy before he can hit the old man. This guy is casually sending people to a coma for trying to hit elders. However, it turns out that the real fight is just about to begin as Seo-won hears another student calling him out. This guy looks like an actual criminal and completely towers over him in terms of his height. Seo-won looks at him with an annoyed expression, realizing that he might have gone a bit overboard. Turns out that this is the older brother of the guy he just knocked out. Seo-won tries to reason with him and says that his brother was the one who caused the problem by not respecting the old man. Moreover, he was smoking in a public area as a high school student, so it was the right move to educate him. He laughs, saying that he should be the one to teach him as his older brother. The guy seemingly has a single brain cell, so he ignores everything and goes for a surprise punch. Seo-won dodges the punch and counterattacks with his piercing fist, sending him flying back. Suddenly, he realizes that he might have used a bit of excessive strength in this punch too. Despite being badly injured, Big Brother isn't ready to back down, so he takes out a pocket knife and threatens to kill him. Seo-won simply stares at his face and realizes that both of these brothers are the same. As they continue fighting, he realizes that fighting normal people like him is too easy for him now. With a quick sweep kick, he throws the guy down and thinks to himself that he needs to control his strength, as he might seriously hurt someone. Instead of hitting the guy directly this time, he uses 50% of his power and uses his palm first to create a shockwave in the air. This sends the brother flying back into the tree. Seo-won panics, thinking to himself that he didn't want to do this. He tries playing it solo and says that the guy is just acting. After giving him a short lecture, he says goodbye and runs away from the scene. This was too far, and he knew that his life would have been over if he accidentally killed any of them. Seo-won knows that if he wants to use his powers in real life, he needs proper training to control them perfectly. It's been a month since he started his training. As he is meditating, he gets a call from his mom asking him about his well-being. He informs her that everything is okay, and thinks to himself that he needs to keep his martial arts training a secret for now. When he asks her about his dad, his mom's tone gets serious, and she reveals that he got into a car accident. This shocks him to the core, and he frantically asks her how bad it is. His mom explains that a car hit him while he was making deliveries. They don't really have health insurance, so the surgery costs are going to be too much. She tells him that she feels bad for asking him, but she needs some of the money back from what she sent him. This breaks his heart, and he asks her about the total cost for the surgery. After she tells him the cost, he reaches into his subspace and takes out the gold necklace he brought back from the game, assuring her that he will take care of it. His parents spent all their lives bouncing from one rented home to another, working hard to provide for him. Seo-won starts crying as he realizes that he was just a freeloader child with no hope for his future. However, things have changed now. He finally makes his way to the jewelry shop and asks them about the price of the necklace. As she analyzes the necklace, the girl mentions that it doesn't look local and has excellent craftsmanship. He lies and tells her that it's been in his family for generations. When he asks her for the price, she informs him that this is a rare item and asks if he is sure about selling it. With an emotional tone, he explains that his dad needs money for his surgery, so he has no choice. He ends up getting $11.5 million won for the gold necklace, but seeing the girl looking so excited makes him realize that he might have undersold it. However, it doesn't really matter much since he got the amount he needed. After he sends the money to his mom, she gets worried and asks him how he got so much money. He tells her that it's just savings from his part-time job in the army. She apologizes to him for making him go through all of this, but he assures her that she doesn't need to worry about him. After dealing with this problem, he decides to take a train back home. On his way, he hears two kids talking about a video of some guy using a flame spell. They might not understand what is happening, but Seo-won knows that this is a spell from Cloyd's survival. Seeing the video makes him realize that he is not the only person in the country who has experienced that game. Suddenly, the video gets deleted and the kids just knock it off as some crazy person. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a guy gets a phone call and assures the other person that he won't let it happen again. He even goes as far as to talk about cutting off internet access across the entire country. A bunch of men in black suits stand silently in front of him as he apologizes on the call. After he puts down the phone, he asks one of them what actually happened. With a shaking voice, the guy explains that the number of survivors has surged dramatically and it's impossible to keep track of all of them. This makes the boss mad and he throws an ashtray directly at the man, asking him why they aren't increasing the number of agents if the number of survivors is going up. He furiously orders him to bring the man who made the video. With blood dripping from his face, the guy assures him that he will get it done. The boss doesn't want the blood to get on his carpet, so he orders someone to heal him. The healer suddenly uses a spell and stops the blood. After taking out all of his anger on the men, the boss finally leaves. The scene changes to see a wound running alone in the night. He has been training for 2 months ever since the first game. This allowed him to gather a good amount of inner energy and he also became more proficient in using it. However, his biggest issue is that he can only summon a single clone with his current inner energy and that too for a short amount of time. Using his martial arts technique, he passes through the forest swiftly and trains in hand-to-hand combat using his own clone. With just a few punches, his body starts to feel tired and he wonders if this is his limit. During his fight with Centurk, he had no problem controlling 8 shadow clones as he wanted. This makes him wonder if he used too much inner energy in his last battle. He stands up, telling himself that sulking about it won't help and decides to go home. However, he does feel a bit hungry, so he prepares to open his subspace to find some food. Before he knows it, he gets teleported to the waiting area of Cloyd Survival. Just like before, everyone is speaking in a different language. Seowon looks around to notice some people who look as confused as he was during his first time. While he is thinking, the system thanks all the players for joining and announces the beginning of the game's tutorial. This makes him a bit surprised since they skipped the tutorial last time. Seowon wonders if it's because there are more beginners this time. Suddenly, his eyes caught a high schooler sitting on top of the statue with a calm expression. Seowon quickly looks away and thinks to himself that the guy is just trying to farm some aura by sitting there. He also knows that the guy has already played this game before, which makes him wonder if he is someone like Nam Sagwang. Meanwhile, the system announces that the total number of players for the game will be 200. The difficulty has been set to the lowest, and their only goal is to make it to the top 200. In other words, they can't lose this time no matter what they do. However, the rewards will only be distributed among the top 20 ranked players. Hearing all this makes Seowon excited as he realizes that he can play like a psycho since there is no risk of failure. After the system finishes with the tutorial, it announces that this is a duo game and players will compete in teams of 2. With this, everyone is instructed to find their partner and make a team. Players without a team will have to play alone. Seowon stands there thinking about what everyone is looking for when making their teams. Since they are all meeting at the same time, they have no way of telling who can be a good partner. If they choose wrong, their teammate might become a dead weight. Suddenly he remembers that high schooler and thinks about making a team with him. However, it seems like he is a bit too late as the guy is nowhere to be seen. After losing his potential partner, Seowon tries his best to find someone else to make a team, but everyone has already joined a team. It seems like he might have to play this solo, but it makes him even more excited as he thinks to himself that he will kill them all regardless. The game finally starts, and this time Seowon doesn't land in a safe area, but somewhere he can find good items. He wants to be the first one to land and kill anyone who comes after. Since he is the first one on the ground, he manages to count the others who are still in the air, and from what he can see, 3 other teams have landed in the area. Without wasting any time, he makes his way to the houses. After his first game, he replayed it over and over in his head, thinking about all the strategies for his second game, so all he needed to do was follow the plan. Suddenly, he notices a player in front of him who appears to be a newbie. Without giving him any time to react, Seowon quickly jumps into the air and hits him with his unstoppable fist, Spatial Strike. The man asks him why he is attacking him, but he receives no answer and instead gets hit by another punch, which knocks him out. Since this is duo mode, he has to deal a final blow to the body, or his teammate might revive him. He pushes his head, his teammate shows up with a giant sword. The guy appears to be a knight and hits Seowon with his shield, pushing him back. Seowon admits that the man has some incredible strength. Meanwhile, his opponent takes an offensive stance and asks him if he is the one who killed his teammate. Seowon realizes that the knight specializes in close combat. Since his unstoppable fist relies on his bare hands, he needs to find a way to deal with players who use weapons. Even though it's not easy, he has practiced it enough using his shadow clones. Just the thought of trying it out in the game makes him smile. He looks up to his opponent and says that it will be fun. The guy blindly charges forward with his sword, and Seowon pretends like he is going to throw a punch. Just before both of their attacks collide, he opens his fist and slightly tilts the direction of his weapon, causing it to change its trajectory. At the same time, he hits the shield, which creates an opening. Not wasting any time, he uses his spatial strike to create a hole in the opponent's armor. But he is not done just yet, as he quickly grabs his helmet and strikes him using his knee, breaking it all apart. In just a few seconds, he completely dismantled the guy who is now bleeding on the ground. He stomps on his face to finish him off, and just like that, he has the first 2 kills in the lobby. Afterwards, he absorbs their life chi and realizes that the sword guy was pretty strong. With one team gone, there are 4 players left in this area. Before Seowon can even finish absorbing the life chi, an arrow pierces the wall in front of him, just missing his head. He immediately looks back to see where it came from, but there is no one behind him. Once later, another arrow shoots out from the houses, this time slashing him in the face. As he wonders if there are going to be more arrows, the attacker launches a bunch of them at the same time. This is too much for him to dodge on open ground, so he quickly runs for cover. As Seowon makes his way to the houses, he wonders if it's the archer from the previous game, since the aim is too accurate. However, the person doesn't seem that strong, so it can't be Jurokwana. Still thinking about their location, he gets out of the forest and onto a rooftop. If this were the previous game, he would have been hiding in the houses and safety farming items. But this time his game plan is a bit different, as he wants to absorb as much life chi as possible. While he is jumping on the rooftops, an arrow suddenly pierces his skull, putting a hole in him. Turns out this was a clone all along, and it just caused the archer to reveal his position. Seowon doesn't take long to get close to him and kicks him in the face. As the archer gets thrown back, he suddenly loses sight of him as the guy disappears into thin air. With a shocked expression, he realizes that the archer probably has a cloak of hiding. The realization comes a bit too late, as the guy is already behind him at this point and shoots a bunch of arrows. Seowon manages to dodge the arrows with his insane reflexes, but it allows the archer to escape. He isn't going to let his prey walk away this easily, so he jumps down and starts chasing after him. The archer is running for his life and almost feels exhausted, so it doesn't take long for Seowon to catch up to him. After blocking his path, he tells him that he made the biggest mistake by attacking him in broad daylight, as he could have used his clock to camp and reach the top ranks. Just as he says this, another player joins the fight, and he appears to be the teammate of the archer he just cornered. The guy looks at Seowon and wonders where his teammate is. Meanwhile, the archer screams at him to kill him already and worry about that later. Seowon starts to realize that he might have made a mistake by not killing the archer earlier. It seems like he has to fight them 2-on-1. Even with the odds against him, he starts smiling as he realizes that he is the one who has the numerical advantage. After surrounding him completely, both players launch a joint attack on him from 2 sides. He swiftly dodges the arrow, and it almost hits the archer's own teammate. Before they can attack again, he uses his shadow clone technique and starts running away into the alleyway. The archer isn't going to let him get away this easily, so he sends 3 arrows flying at him, and each of them hits their mark. As the archer is busy glazing his own aim, Seowon sneaks up on him from above and literally puts a hole in his chest using his bare fists. After knocking one of them down, he tells them that just because their eyes tell them that he is somewhere, it doesn't mean that it's true. The other guy thinks that he is an illusionist since he is using his shadow clones to fight. Seowon mentions that, whatever the case, he still needs to defeat him if he wants to save his ally. Hearing this, the guy suddenly charges at him with his swords. Seowon takes on the challenge and goes for a head-on counterattack. In his opinion, the key to a counter is the point where the attack comes from. In this case, he needs to close in and aim straight for the shoulder. However, all of this is easier said than done, as his opponent is just too quick for him to react. The guy manages to slash his arm and cut his chest at the same time using his other blade. All Seowon can do is watch as he barely avoids getting cut to pieces. The guy says that he must be using some kind of trick since his blade wasn't able to cut as deeply as he expected. However, it still doesn't matter as he will aim for his neck next time. Seowon knows that the guy is too fast for him to counter, and this makes him a bit worried. He suddenly calms down as he remembers that this round has no penalty for dying early. This means that he can use a risky move. His plan is to follow the guy's energy and his killing intent instead of his movement. If he can't even do this, then he doesn't really deserve to be in first place. The Seowon in this second round was not the same as the one from the previous game. He had been training with inner energy for 2 months now and had a rare talent for using it. As he opens his eyes, he is shocked to see himself pinning the other guy to the ground. His opponent is also confused and asks him how he managed to block his ultimate attack so easily. In that moment, Seowon felt like he had broken through a wall. Without wasting any more time, he kills the guy, putting his kill count to 4 and being the only player in the lobby to have any kills. Afterwards, he absorbs his inner energy and finds a healing scroll in his inventory. This is exactly what he needed to recover and start farming again. Unfortunately for him, the cloak of hiding is a bit damaged after the fight, which means that he can't use it without repairing it. With that item, he could have reached the top ranks easily. Despite the cloak having no use, he decides to keep it in his inventory in the hopes of repairing it later. In addition to the cloak, he also finds a lightning bow in the archer's loot box. As he picks up the bow to try it, he thinks to himself that he didn't really feel any lightning energy from the arrows shot by the archer. The bow also comes with a manual, which means that the guy wasn't originally an archer and just learned to use the bow with this book. Once he learns the book, he tries his shooting skills, and to his surprise, this bow seems to be much better than the one he had in the first round. With 4 players down, there is only one team left in the area, but Siwon still thinks that it's better to farm a bit before hunting for them. He can't really find anything good in the houses nearby until his eyes fall on the clock tower at the center. Places like these are usually the best spots to farm, so he decides to give it a try. The opening door is closed, which gives him a bit more confidence since it means that no one has entered the tower. For his own safety, he decides to close the door behind him. All of his expectations are shattered when he finds nothing in the entire tower. Siwon starts fuming and says that the game can really mess you up sometimes. Just as he is blaming the system, he notices 2 players making their way into the nearby houses, probably searching for items. He thinks to himself that they might have some good items, so he should just avoid them. However, it seems like they are looking for trouble as he watches them entering the tower. Seeing that the door is closed, they think that nobody is inside, not knowing that Siwon is at the top watching their every move. The team finds a healing scroll at the entrance and gets excited. Meanwhile, Siwon quietly makes his way down the stairs, thinking that they are probably new players since they are getting excited about a healing scroll. Siwon gave a wicked smile and literally skydived on top of them in order to strike first just because they are weaklings. The 2 weaklings noticed a shadow, and before they realized what's going on, Siwon skillfully landed in between them. He was well aware that the mage was pretty decent and would definitely have a barrier up as quickly as he could, so he attacked him first. As Siwon's fist heads in the mage's direction, he wondered where Siwon suddenly came from. Siwon intended on ending the mage in one attack, but was surprised to see him already casting a fire spell. He halted his attack mid-strike and evaded the fire hurled at him. In mid-air, the mage could only watch as his partner got hit directly with the flame he just casted. The Axeman questioned what the hell he was doing, and the idiot stuttered, replying that the attack wasn't aimed at him but the enemy. He cursed as Siwon lands behind him. It was in this moment that they noticed that Siwon was alone. Obviously, if Siwon had a teammate, they would have attacked together. So in this case, he was an easy kill. The Axeman raised his huge axe and launched a series of attacks. However, Siwon evaded them all with ease, pissing off the guy even further. He furiously declared to kill Siwon, then continued to swing his axe repeatedly until it struck his partner on the side. The Axeman's eyes widen in shock as he too was asked what he was doing. He apologizes, claiming he didn't do it on purpose. He tried to explain further, but the mage cut him off. He gets what he's implying, so the brute should just remove his freaking axe. But in that precise moment, Siwon made his way behind the mage and crushed the poor guy's head before he could even use a healing scroll. Siwon's desire was to be the person to deliver the finishing blow. Seeing this, the Axeman cursed his rotten luck, and he drops his heavy chest armor, revealing his massive physique. He also questioned how Siwon dares to mess with someone like him. Staring at the guy's towering figure, Siwon wondered if the guy was the type that had a weight debuff on his armor. Also, judging by his looks, it was not a stretch to think he was a strength-based player. But will he get a little faster? Siwon effortlessly dodged another attack, and in the air, he drops on top of the guy and lands a heavy kick on his neck. Since Siwon had to land on the ground eventually, the guy timed his attack and took a massive swing of his axe, cleaving through Siwon's figure and the entire building. Siwon acknowledged the guy to be incredibly strong, but wonders if he can catch him with just that brute strength of his. After all, strength wasn't everything. The guy charged forward and swung his heavy axe again. Siwon dodges yet again, then blocks the next with a penetrating strike of his own. Unbeknownst to the brute, he had been fighting with a clone the moment Siwon landed, while the real one watched from the side. Siwon casually walks off as the idiot continued to fight with the clone like there's no tomorrow. He made his way to the entrance before the idiot saw his figure in his periphery. When he turned and asked how Siwon made his way over there while fighting with him, Siwon replied with a question of his own, wanting to know if the axe brute heard the sound of the building he just split in half. Shouldn't he be more curious about what's going to happen next? Siwon raised his leg and kicked the building with all his strength. But unexpectedly, in that dire situation, This idiot was still concerned about who he had been fighting all along, if not Seowon. It wasn't until he turned and saw the clone fading away did he realize how fucked over he really was. The building shook violently and collapsed shortly after with no room for his escape. Anyway, it was in this moment that a thought occurred to Seowon. In this type of situation where a player dies as a collateral damage, was he going to get the kill? He chose to kill the guy in this manner because it seemed fun in that moment. But now he's wondering if it was worth it. After all, if he doesn't get the kill, the reward he's supposed to loot will be little. As the dusty debris subsides, the guy's hand was the only part still visible as he fades away. Approaching the chests, Seowon learned that if there's no space for the reward box to appear, it can appear away from where the player died. This was convenient because he would have nearly wasted the day digging through the rubble. He first looted the big guy and only managed to salvage a glove. This item, the Glove of Strength, slightly increases the wearer's strength. The mage, on the other hand, was a different experience because there were even some items Seowon had never seen before. He got a scroll that can explode, a cursed brooch, a philosopher's stone, and a fragment manual whose true name can only be known after all 8 parts had been assembled. There was also a mage's robe which blocks wind and rain, but has almost no defense. Seowon donned it on and was about to move out. He had already made too much commotion in that place anyway. On the map, the restricted zone was slowly closing in. Also, since he started in an initial area, there should be quite a few players on the other side by now. Seowon decided to head for the center of the map first. On the way, he looted some remaining civilian houses, but there was nothing to salvage. Seowon decided to move before it got too late. It was quite a long distance, but Seowon had gotten used to the movement technique, so he was able to move at a significantly different speed than in his first game. He entered a monster spawning area. Apparently, the current designated map being used had specific areas where some monsters appear, and these types of monsters were varied. Also, boss monsters appear in certain maps, and if a player succeed in hunting a boss monster, a special item will be dropped. This intel surprised Seowon. He originally thought the map had only werewolves, but it seems not just werewolves, but all sorts of monsters could appear depending on the map. He wished he had been informed in his previous game. Anyway, in addition to regular and boss monsters, buff monsters also exist, and they grant a buff to a player for a certain amount of time. A very loud screeching noise came from a monster that made Seowon cover his ears in pain. And not far from his location, a mage and a warrior were fighting against a pterosaur monster and several giant snakes. The two agreed that the mage was to hold the monsters in place, while the warrior attacks. But their fight would be as defensively as possible. Seowon studied the duo on a cliff nearby as they fight, contemplating on which one to take out first. He took out his bow, aimed at his target, and fired a shot without hesitation.